So hey guys, it's Fictitious Horizon here. What if Naruto was in Sword Art Online and had Asuna as slave? Movie 2. So you mean to tell me that your friend Naruto is the Yellow Flash and that everything he's doing for us players is pointless? Asked Lisbeth. Kirito nodded. And that's because Kayaba caught on to Naruto defeating the bosses too quickly and changed the game so that floor bosses respawn when new players pass through. And this conundrum just now occurred to you? Kirito closed his eyes with his arms folded. I was too busy focusing on living to realize it, and I curse myself for not realizing the truth that was in front of my face the entire time. Iori's eyebrows furrowed as she raised her body and gave Kirito a confused look. She was about to ask him a question when he cut her off by shaking his head and pointing to Asuna. She caught on and decided not to ask why he didn't just message Naruto. Ival looked up with his hand under his chin. What should we do? He asked. After taking some time to think, Kirito gained a look of determination. Same thing we have always done. Do what we can to make sure that this game is cleared. Wait. Everyone looked at him curiously. Blind stood up to his feet just slightly. What is it, Kirito? If the bosses respawn after being defeated, then what happens when Naruto defeats the final boss? Asked Kirito. Lisbeth shrugged her shoulders and was about to answer when a high-pitched voice cut her off. Sorry, I'm late everyone. Turning to the front door of the tavern was a petite girl with hazel-colored pigtails panting as she held onto the door. She smiled awkwardly and gave a wave before walking sheepishly toward the group with Pina in tow. Kirito smiled and waved. Hey Silica. Lisbeth recognized her and just gave a wave coupled with a smile. Hey there. We meet again. Silica gasped. Liz. What are you doing here? Well, a lot happened. But, why don't you join us while we're at it? She asked. Silica nodded as she took a seat at the table. Kirito nodded as he continued on with his possible explanation as to what would happen. Iwuo. Naruto bellowed as he shoved his Bijuu blade into the phantom stinger. Once it disappeared, Naruto continued to stare at the spot the labyrinth boss once was with a perplexed look. Didn't I already defeat this boss? He thought as his fist clenched. First that player, and now this. Everything I've been doing. Naruto had decided at that moment he would stick to the shadows but support his friends from where they stood instead floors above them. Not that he had a better option at the moment. Sighing tiredly, he closed his eyes as he felt for one of his markers before disappearing and appearing in his room for the night. Opening his menu, Naruto unequipped his gear and replaced it with sleepwear as he walked and plopped on his bed. Okay, he murmured absent-mindedly as he opened his menu to check his stats. He realized that he was literally on the verge of reaching level 109 and decided that tomorrow was the day that he'd finally earn everything back he once lost. For now, he'd catch some much-needed sleep. Laying down, he stared at the ceiling for a good minute before his eyes felt heavy and he fell into a deep sleep. Where am I? For some reason, Naruto found himself running. But, from what? The next thing he heard shocked him to the core. You always were a dope. That voice. It couldn't be. Naruto's eyes shot open faster than he could say Raymond. Blinking a couple of times, he turned to his right before shielding the sunlight that was coming through the window. A dream, how he thought as he got up and stretched. He opened up his menu and equipped a different set of armor that he had been making in case the situation ever occurred. What he was now wearing is pretty much the standard Anbu uniform with a mask designed to look like a fox that he wore under a hood to cover his bright yellow hair. He cursed his forgetfulness as he was wearing his standard gear and he did not want news spreading of his return, which could possibly spur Asuna into a crazed search for him. He knew enough from what Kirito told him. Once he was ready to depart, Naruto formed a one-handed ram seal before disappearing. When he teleported to his intended destination, he was pleased to see his clones training hard. Or should he say grinding now? Well, should probably have everyone teleport here now, he said as he bit his thumb before drawing a backward Horatian seal. After, he formed 5 hand seals and slammed it on the ground. But in the next second, all his clones that he had all over the floating castle had appeared via reverse Horatian and were now ready for what was planned. I gotta work on that whole process, it takes too long, Naruto deadpanned. Naruto sweat dropped at what looked to be at least 4,000 shadow clones. On second thought, how about half of you teleport to one single marker while I dispel the other half for now? All nodding, about 2,000 clones teleported off, which led Naruto to hope this would work as he crossed his fingers and dispelled his clones. Well, he did not pass out, he definitely had to take a breather and gather his bearings. He would do that on the ground for now. What made him very happy was to see the notification that he had just gained 46 levels. The excitement that swelled within him could not be contained as he immediately got up and jumped 20 feet in the air. That's what I'm talking about. Is that you, Naruto? Kakuo asked in awe as she looked around and saw her fellow Bijuu. Naruto realized that he had just got back Kakuo and Seiken, which meant he was well on his way to reaching his full power. He closed his eyes. Yup, it's the one and only. Welcome back. What's going on? What happened? Rakubi asked as he looked around making slushing noises with his slimy body. Seiken. Good to have you. I'll explain everything, but let me just get everyone else. Returning back to the outside world, Naruto pumped chakra back into the seal which brought the rest of the clones back. Finally. They all screamed in annoyance before dispelling on their own. Naruto sweat dropped before he fainted from the accumulated exhaustion. If only he had not fallen asleep outside of a safe zone. Kirito just finished his grinding quota for the day and decided to head to an inn for the night. Once he sheathed his sword, he turned around and followed a path that leads past a clearing and into the town. Looks like if Naruto goes any further, he won't be alive to see the end of this game. I hope he realizes that before he does get himself killed by angering Kayaba. Kirito was now level 80 and was not in the least bit relaxed at that number. He was sure Naruto was by now levels above him, which is why he wasn't going to stand around and follow a mediocre grinding schedule. He was fine with only having 2 to 3 hours of sleep if need be. Now, he just had to be ready for tomorrow's floor boss meeting. Hey Naruto. We're going to force you awake because it seems there are a bunch of dragons tearing at your body with their claws, Son Goku said before they all pushed a pulse of their chakra into Naruto's system that woke him up to an unpleasant sight. About 10 dragons were clawing at him with their talons, but he was astounded to see that he was still in the green and that the damage he was receiving was covered by his battle skill healing. Heh, Naruto chuckled with a smirk as he slowly stood up and once he was standing just continued to look at the monsters. Before the next attack from a dragon could hit, Naruto had seemingly disappeared. When what really happened was in less than a second, he had used his full speed to flick each dragon in the head once and then returned to his position in the middle. Every single one had frozen due to all of their health being drained before bursting into the polygons that made them up. Naruto whistled. I may even be stronger than when I fought in the war now, he said as he rested his arms behind his head and casually walked back to the safe zone. Naruto, I've gotten the gist of what is happening from these guys, but how are you holding up in all of this? Jayuki asked. Oh. It's the Hachibi. Well, other than losing everyone I've come to form a bond with, I'm doing rather well. Wait, where's Kurama? Naruto, I'm afraid you haven't gained the necessary amount of experience that would cause Kurama to appear, Shikaku stated. Crap, I was sure that would have been enough. Hold on, let me check my stats. Opening his menu, Naruto looked to see that he went straight from level 108 to level 200, which meant that he had 15 more levels before his power returned to him. Well, I was lucky it worked anyway, said Naruto, while in another part of the castle, a certain man was infuriated once more. Okay, so what the scout parties have gathered about this particular boss is that. Klein nudged Kirito before covering his hand to whisper something. Why don't you just message him? Kirito shook his head before doing the same. He does not respond to my messages anymore and that was before he removed from his friends list. Klein sighed before he decided to ask something. Do you think he'll come back? Before Kirito had a chance to answer he was interrupted. Ahem, is there something you'd like to share with us you two? Asuna asked in a passive-aggressive tone. Chuckling with a half-smile, Kirito and Klein both shook their heads rapidly, which earned them snickers from everyone present. Right, so in order to maximize the damage output, we have to position all the tanks here, and here. That way, it can't use its phasing ability as effectively which is where our main offense will be operating. If there is an emergency you call for help immediately and we'll do our best to help. Let's defeat the boss and win everyone. That is all. Everyone that had left failed to notice a certain shinobi clad in his armor present at the meeting. Well that was interesting Naruto thought as he too followed the crowd out before he almost ran into someone. Sorry about that, he said politely before immediately walking out. The man just raised his eyebrow before he smirked and continued out of the meeting room. Must be in a hurry, he said. Commander Heathcliff. Asuna called before the man continued on his way. Meditating with 8 tails sprouting from his back, each having the Bijuu characteristics as well as Sage Mode activated was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. So, what do you guys think? My guess is that either Madara or some other evil Uchiha had somehow found his way into this world, Jayuki said. But, that's impossible, right? Son Goku shook his head. This would explain the reason I felt a sudden shift in energy when the old man teleported you. You may not have felt it, but something came with us, and whoever it is, does not have good intentions. Then I guess my only choice is to find them, but the Sage Mode isn't working. It has to be Madara then. Remember when you tried to sense the Jubi? That must have been the shift in energy. He probably siphoned off some of the chakra that the old man took out from Sasuke's body while he was still in limbo. How he did this is past me, but be careful Naruto. Naruto was seen massaging his temples as he was waiting for everyone at the labyrinth door. How was he in limbo though? I have a headache now. He looked up when he noticed the first one to arrive was none other than Kirito. Great. Running away did not seem like an option anymore since he was now being approached by said black swordsman. Hey, you must be new. I didn't see you at the meeting, but I assume you're here for the boss raid. Naruto just nodded in response. Kirito's sweat dropped before looking behind him to see the rest of the group coming as well as a few random players. When he turned to introduce himself he found the player to be gone. He was astounded that he slipped past him undetected. Iori tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, you okay? You look out of it, Kirito. It's nothing. Let's just get going, he said. Iori just gave him a weird look with a raised eyebrow as he headed past the doors. The day was a special day because leading today's fight would be the famous commander of the Knights of Blood, Heathcliff. Planting his rather large shield into the ground, he straightened and took time to survey the batch of warriors before him. You all did stellar on fighting your way through the dungeon, but now is the time to take another step toward our freedom. I will be in charge of your lives for this boss fight, so rest assured that your lives will not be so easily lost. As long as you stick to the plan that my vice commander so cleverly put together, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll lose. Let's go. He shouted as he raised his fist. Everyone responded with just as much determination as he lifted his shield and slowly pulled out his sword from its sheath. He then pushed the doors open and after a good second or so pointed his sword forward. Charge. Kirito was about to join the rest when he finally noticed the new guy from before. Huh? Where was he all this time? Snapping out of his thoughts, Kirito narrowed his eyes dangerously as he rushed forward to his designated position. What is going on with you today, Kirito-kun? Asked a familiar female voice. Kirito looked beside him to see Asuna with her rapier at the ready. Nothing really. Asuna hummed ever so slightly before pushing the matter to the back of her mind. If you say so. When the players rushed in, they were horrified to see what looked to be a dragon slowly rising from underground and passing through the stone. Don't waver. Everyone just stick to the plan and we'll be sure to succeed. Once everyone had rushed into the room, sounds of a war erupted and the next battle of their lives had commenced. In order to counter the phasing ability, everyone was positioned in such a way that the players the boss was focused on would force it to waste its ability and begin the cooldown while another rushed in to attack. Take this. Klein yelled as he unleashed a swift two-hit combo consisting of 2 slashes, resulting in an X shape. As expected, the attacks did nothing to the boss but simply passed through it. Now. He shouted. Already on it. Shinto responded as he went to stab the boss with his spear multiple times. His hits proved effective, but the speed at which the boss not only turned around but attacked was completely outrageous. He was saved however by a Gil and Diaval, as they both blocked the attack with their shields and effectively parried it, resulting in a ringing sound. Then, in came Hiyori and Jace as they both unleashed a flurry of hits that seemed to push the boss back a bit. Hiyori unleashed a lethal 4-hit combo, while Jace surprisingly was moving just as fast if not faster than her. Their attacks came to a halt when Kirito and Asuna charged in with their respective attacks that dealt the most damage so far, but this served to spring everyone else into action. Ha! Kirito shouted as he used Skill Connect to execute both horizontal and then vertical square, almost as if it was one skill. Switch. He shouted as Asuna shot off with her newly acquired sword skill Crucifixion. Then, everyone was amazed when Heathcliff came in with his unique skill Divine Blade and completely demolished a bar of health with his Divine Sword skill. Keep going. He shouted as even Kirito couldn't help but marvel at the skill each time he saw it. Time to go all out. He roared as he drew his second sword, Dark Repulsor, thanks to Lisbeth. Gasps were had as Kirito continued his fierce attacks on the boss before he unleashed his Starburst stream on it that leveled it to its last bar before he was left wide open to an attack that no one had time to react and defend him from. All of a sudden a black blur had zoomed past Kirito and went to parry the attack only for his sword to hit nothing as it phased through the boss's weapon. What is that guy thinking? A random player asked rhetorically. Hey. Stick to the plan, Dumbus. You're going to get yourself and everyone here killed. Kirito was perplexed when he saw the player all but charge in by himself. What is he? When Naruto had completely passed through the dragon with his sword, he did something that no one expected was even possible at such high speeds. In less than a second, 6 hits had appeared on the dragon that pretty much drained all of its health, except for 1 hit point when his afterimage disappeared from what seemed to be an inevitable death. Everyone was completely gobsmacked as to how that was even possible. Didn't he pass through it? Am I going crazy? Hiyori asked incredulously. And not only that, he managed to get 6 hits on it in an instant too. A Gil whispered in complete awe. Naruto, much to everyone's surprise, simply walked up to the boss and flicked it which drained it of its last point, causing it to ripple and then explode. He didn't even bother to take a look at everyone before he calmly walked to the teleportation gate and continued on the next floor. What was that just now? Klein asked. Kirito shook his head in distress. I don't know. But whoever that is, I am glad they are on our side. Heathcliff was scrutinizing the new player clad in a black cloak with a certain suspicion that he kept to himself. He had stopped the player from his intended evasion with a clap. marvelous strength you showed today, young warrior. If I may ask, what is your name? A man of few words, I see. Well, I welcome you to join my guild if you're up for it. If not, I wouldn't mind you just helping out with boss raids if soloing is your playstyle, he said. Naruto had just walked back to give Heathcliff a handshake as he unequipped his infinite chaos that caused Heathcliff to gain a glint in his eye. It was nice meeting you. Naruto just opted to wave as he walked through the teleport gate. Well, what do you guys think? Naruto asked his tenants. There is no mistaking it, Naruto, he's the creator of the game, I sense his heart is far darker than the rest of these humans, Kakuo stated. Well Naruto, at least we know in the future to keep an eye on him, Son Goku said. Naruto could get a certain feel for the Cob's leader's evil intent, but it amplified its effectiveness with physical contact and reassurance from the 8 Biju currently within his psyche. As he was leaving, the people he once called friend stared at his back with awe and couldn't help but reminded of a certain overpowered blonde. Well, now that this battle is over, why don't we head to the next floor and celebrate? Klein suggested as he put an arm around Kirito, who just gave him an annoyed look. I think I'd rather grind instead, Kirito responded as he sighed. Oh come on Kirito, don't be so obsessed with leveling up. Besides, you're already powerful enough with your unique skill, Jay said, much to the ire of a certain swordswoman. HMPH, Hiyori pouted slightly as she looked at Kirito with a bit of jealousy, but also another feeling she couldn't quite identify. Kirito-kun, interjected Heathcliff. Oh, yes. Kirito asked, taken by surprise. I'd like you to meet me at my headquarters if you wouldn't mind, along with my vice commander, he said. Both Kirito and Asuna shared knowing looks. They both nodded as their friends gave them worried looks before Asuna gave them a reassuring smile. Don't worry, it's nothing too serious. As they walked away, Lisbeth had a confused look on her face. Is she always so uptight and awkward all the time? She asked. Klein shook his head. Youth is certainly a blessing, he said. You aren't even that old. Liz shouted. So, what's this I hear about you taking my vice commander away for an undetermined amount of time? I presume you have a good reason for this? He asked in a polite tone. Kirito nodded. She just needs time away from her position in your guild and time with us, her friends. She'll still attend the raids and will still by achieving her daily leveling quota, but we feel as if she needs time to heal from certain recent events, Kirito said, slowly mumbling the last part. Heathcliff raised his hand. I'm well aware of Asuna's personal problems and I am prepared to make adjustments to accommodate her for that reason. I simply cannot fathom why you think her leaving the guild temporarily is going to be any different. Hardening his gaze, Kirito stepped forward much to the guard's trepidation. She has us. That is the difference. It's better to suffer with your friends rather than with people that are only on business terms with you. Wouldn't you agree? Heaving a tiresome sigh, Heathcliff's expression changed from calm to serious. I have granted you one request from before, but I am not about to make it two. Especially if she's going to be gone for an indefinite amount of time. However, if you can beat me in a duel, then I will allow it this one time, he said as soon as jaw dropped while Kirito's expression remained the same. But if you lose then you'll have to join the guild. Fine. We'll settle this with a duel then, Kirito agreed. Asuna just gave him a slack-jawed expression. Naruto was nowhere near close to getting Kurama back. For some odd reason, the experience cap soared so high that even if he used the shadow clone method, it would still take him about 2 to 3 weeks of no sleep non-stop grinding to get to level 215. That damn old man and his fucking tricks, I swear once I get my powers back I will annihilate you. Naruto said as he shook his head as a bit of a weird chakra started to flow through his brain and optic nerves. Fine, if he thinks that'll work, he has another thing coming, Naruto mumbled as he crossed his finger when a shadow clone popped up next to him. It nodded as it proceeded to the main town plaza to teleport back to floor 75 in order for a faster level ups. Yawning, Naruto took to laying down on a tree branch before taking a quick nap. Are you insane? Asuna asked as she followed Kirito out of the steel fortification. Kirito gave her an apologetic look. Well, he did say if I win that you could, so what's the problem? Huffing, Asuna ran in front of him before putting her hands on her hips as she gave him a glare. You think you're invincible now because of your unique skill, huh? I know you're strong, but the commander has a unique skill too. I have never seen him hit the yellow zone. I know all about his divine blade. A combination of not only a strong attack but a strong defense as well. But I'll never know until I try, right? He said, glad that Asuna was beginning to return to her usual self. Honestly, you and Naruto are a hand. She stopped as she was once again thinking about her beloved. She sighed as she continued her rant. Anyway, you'd better hope you're making the right call. Honestly, I can't believe you, she said. I know. Well, we should hurry back. The rest of the gang is probably waiting for us right now. So, what's the status, filth? Asked an ominous voice. Heathcliff was on his knees as he was shaking before the very existence before him. I have altered the game once again to keep him from reaching new heights. I promise you that he will not get stronger before our plan is executed. I even have a duel set up to recruit another strong player to tie into our plans," he said. "HN, you'd better not disappoint. It's your fault that I am stuck here. My other two companions are busy harvesting the god trees while I'm sitting here crippled because my power was suddenly divided. I can't even open a portal anymore because of this predicament. But there is hope once I steal Ashura and Indra's chakra, haha, haha." The mysterious man maniacally laughed as Kayaba was left shaking. A pair of eyes opened up wide as a young teenager took in his surroundings. Black strands of hair blocked his vision as he realized he was still alive after his battle. He flinched as he noticed he still had his left arm for some reason, but even more so was the fact that he woke up in a bed. Where the hell am I? And where the hell is Naruto? A certain Uchiha wondered aloud as his awakening caused his saviors to rejoice. Opening up the door to a tavern, Kirito and Asuna walked in and were greeted by the same group that had fought with them during the 56th floor boss raid. "Sorry to keep everyone waiting," Kirito said as he and Asuna took a seat at a table. "Oh, don't worry about it. We wouldn't want to interrupt you two anyway," Klein teased as Kirito blanched while Asuna's eyes narrowed. "For your information, I don't like Kirito-kun like that, Klein-san," she said in an icy tone. "Geez, okay, I was only joking, you know," Klein said as he was patted on the back by Jace. Chuckling, Diaval stood up and proceeded to survey the small group before him. "I have to say it's good to see you all again." "Likewise," Agil said as he downed a mug of beer. "So, what did that strong old guy want with the two of you?" Hiyori asked. Heathcliff, Kirito corrected, wanted to know why I wanted Asuna to take a leave of absence, and you all know the reason why. "I don't," Klein and Jace both said as they raised their hands. Asuna and Hiyori both shook their heads. "Of course you don't," Asuna said. "Well, Kirito thought it would be a good idea to get me away from that life and start spending time getting out of this game with my friends instead." "Oh," both Klein and Jace voiced in realization. Lisbeth had a hand on her face as she shook her head. "Idiots," she said as Silica giggled slightly. "So, what did he say?" Shinto asked. "That's the interesting part. He said he would allow it if I defeated him in a duel." No one said anything for exactly 5 seconds. "Well, sorry that you couldn't take your leave, Asuna," Hiyori said in a deadpan tone. "Hey, do you guys really doubt me that much?" Kirito asked in a hurt tone. "Yeah," Hiyori said flatly. "Screw you," Kirito said. "You're not my type," Hiyori retorted. "Like I would like someone like you anyway," Kirito responded evenly. "Took the words right out of my mouth," she said as they closer and closer and were now butting heads. "Do you guys like each other or something?" Klein asked in mild interest. "What makes you think I would ever like her?" Kirito shouted. "Not in a million years." Hiyori said at the same time with a slight blush on her cheeks. Okay. Let's not get caught off track," Shinto said. "When is the duel scheduled to commence?" Kirito sighed as Hiyori turned her head with a pout, crossing her arms under her well-developed chest. "In about a week," Kirito responded. "Not that I doubt your skill or anything, Kirito, but you should probably use that time to prepare," Agil said. "It's fine. I was planning to do that all along." "Right, sorry guys, but my guild is calling and being the leader and all, I can't just abandon them in their time of need," Klein bragged as he was rubbing his nose. "Well, I've got to get back to my shop too," Agil said. "Okay, it looks like the next time we'll all see each other is at the duel," Jay said. "Right," Asuna said as they all went their separate ways. "Do you really think you can beat him, Kirito-kun?" Asuna asked as they were the only two left at the tavern. "I'm not too sure, but that's what makes it all the more interesting." Asuna had a forlorn smile on her face that Kirito failed to catch. That sounds like something Naruto-kun would say. Practicing his skills, Naruto had the urge to sneeze for an instant, but it went away as soon as it came. "Damn it, hate when that happens," he said as he focused hard on trying to create his Rasen shuriken with one hand while adding wind to it with another. His tongue was jutting out to the side as he had a look of sheer concentration on his face. He managed to get it to the first level, wind style. Rasengan, and was now trying to slowly improve it to its full capacity. He managed to get the blades to have the size they needed to be and was careful in the process of enlarging that size. After training for about 3 hours, he was ready to take a break and get something to eat back in town. He was walking back due to the fact that he forgot to place a marker in town due to wanting to avoid a run-in with his old friends. "It's so hard not to go find Asuna right now, but I've got to be patient," he thought as he heard something that piqued his interest. "Did you hear? The Black Swordsman is going to be dueling Heathcliff, the commander of the Knights of Blood." One player shouted. "Wow. That'll be a battle to witness. I definitely can't miss it," another responded. "Oh great, it looks like Kirito's gotten into another mess. But damn, he's going to lose since he doesn't know he's going up against Kayaba. Better go just to be on the safe side," he thought as he decided to head back up to train seriously after his meal. The week passed by and eventually, a plethora of players were now crowded on the outside and inside of a certain coliseum designed for large duels or duels in general. Today was the day that Kirito would face off against Heathcliff. Sheathing his two swords, Kirito was huffing as he had finished grinding and was now ready to head to the destination his battle would take place. Meanwhile, his friends were all waiting for him in the seats as they were excited to see how the battle would turn out. Although, Asuna and Hiyori were waiting for him at the bottom entrance where he would step foot into the arena. Silently observing on the top edge of the said arena was Naruto, who was exuding a calm feeling as he was staring at Heathcliff with slitted pupils. "I know what you're up to, and it's pointless," Naruto thought as he continued to observe with two sheaths holding a black and golden sword positioned on his back. "Geez, what's taking him so long?" Hiyori thought out loud. "He's about to be disqualified." "Sorry, I'm late," Kirito interrupted as he waved at the two. Her eyebrow was twitching at Kirito's nonchalant expression. "Just get out there already, Kirito-kun," Asuna said, pointing outside while tapping her foot. Right, Kirito said as he chuckled while making his way outside and was gobsmacked by the number of people present. What the? As he approached Kayaba, the old man gave him an apologetic look. "I'm sorry, Kirito-kun. I wasn't expecting this many people to find out about this, let alone attend the duel. I hear even bets are being placed on who would win. I hope you know that I'm getting the money when I win," Kirito said with a confident smirk. "That won't be happening because you'll be joining the Knights of Blood Oath," Heathcliff said as he opened his menu and sent Kirito the duel request. His smirk turned into a frown as he accepted the duel request. The timer and contestants' names appeared as both players took to equipping their weapons. Kirito had a fierce look on his face, while Heathcliff's expression was nothing short of indifferent. Once the timer had reached 0, Kirito's eyes widened as he sprung into action by lunging with his elucidator that Heathcliff blocked with his shield effortlessly. Slash and swipe were blocked one after another calmly by the commander as he calculated every strike that Kirito put out as he pushed Kirito away and began charging. Kirito was taken aback when he was hit with his shield and watched as he relaxed slightly. "I have to say your reaction time is splendid," he said. "And going against those attacks with your unique skill is nothing to scoff at." "I'm starting to get fired up," he responded. They both stood for about a second before rushing forward and attacking and defending at an even faster speed. Eventually, Kirito managed to get a clean cut on his opponent's cheek, whose eyes narrowed in return. Not willing to give up his momentum there, Kirito began attacking with his skill and was pushing Heathcliff back bit by bit. Soon, he managed to push his shield aside and left him wide open enough for a finishing attack. "He's actually going to win," Hiyori whispered as she was amazed at his skill as well as the rest of the spectators. "Amazing," Asuna said as she stared wide-eyed at the fight. However, as soon as his sword began descending, Kirito noticed that Heathcliff was starting to respond faster than he should have been able to. Naruto's eyes narrowed. There it is, he's calling upon the support of the game system just to win this duel. That just confirms that he needs Kirito in his guild. "Well, I hope this goes as planned," Naruto thought as he stood up as the wind blew and caused a rippling motion of his cloak. Heathcliff had managed to block the strike of the sword and followed up with a thrust to Kirito, who after that attack reached the yellow zone of his health bar. He fell on his bum as both his swords fell beside him. Heathcliff was determined the winner of the duel as the entire crowd cheered and roared with excitement. Kirito was confused as he stared down at the ground before looking up at the irked expression of the commander. As Kaba was getting ready to leave, he stopped as Naruto was standing in front of him with his hands in his pockets. "Yo," Naruto greeted as he gave Kaba a wave. "Oh, so you do speak," Heathcliff said with an amused expression. "And what can I do for you?" Murmurs rang throughout the crowd at the sudden appearance of the mysterious player clad in a black cloak. "Hey, isn't that the guy we saw at the last boss raid?" Hiyori said as Asuna nodded. "Oh, I don't know what he's doing out there right now," Asuna said, getting a bad feeling something was about to happen. "Whoa, what's he doing?" Klein asked. "I'm not too sure, to be honest," Agil said. "But whatever it is can't be good. I'm getting shady vibes from that guy." "Well, let's just see how this turns out," Diaval said as the rest of them agreed. Asuna and Hiyori decided it was best to get close, and since Asuna was the vice commander, it would only prove to make sense. "I want to make a compromise," Naruto suggested as Kirito looked at him with confusion. Heathcliff gained a surprised look. "And what would that be?" "Duel me, and I'll take the black swordsman's place. Only this time, I'm not wagering a win, but a draw," he said as the interest in Kayaba's eyes grew tenfold. "And if that so happens, I want you to rescind forcing him into your guild and allowing his friend to go," Naruto proposed. Kayaba's eyes narrowed. "And if you or I win?" he asked. Sighing, Naruto raised his hands as he formed a thumb with his right hand and pointed it at himself. "I'll join your guild, and not only that, but I'll be bait for every single floor boss we come across. That way no one is put in harm's way and the probability of winning this game increases with our numbers." Heathcliff put a hand to his chin as he took a few moments to think it over. Okay, but another condition, if you fail to succeed, he still has to join the guild. Naruto nodded as he sent Heathcliff the duel request. Smiling, he accepted the duel and began to ready his weapon when his eyes widened upon seeing what Naruto was using. Impossible, he said. Naruto placed both his hands on each sheath strapped to his back as he pulled out both his swords. Everyone was once again murmuring in disbelief that yet another player had the dual-wield unique skill. How do you have that? Kayaba asked in disbelief and rage. Oh, I was the one that unlocked the skill, but I guess after giving it away, it didn't actually get rid of it since I can still use it. Besides, it's a good thing I got these two swords today, he said as his eyes became a golden color with cross-lidded pupils as both the markings on his hands shined for an instant. Kayaba had a bead of sweat on his forehead as he looked unsure about the certain turn of events. Once the timer turned to 0, Kayaba immediately put his shield up and was surprised by the force behind Naruto's lunge. Naruto scoffed when he casually flicked his sword and the shield flew to his right, leaving the roaring crowd speechless. Kayaba was at a loss for words when in that same instant, Naruto cut his hand as he used the other sword to also slash against Kayaba's abdomen, bringing both of their bars to yellow at the same exact time, signaling the first ever draw in the game. What the hell? Jace whispered. Did he just? Lisbeth began. He did, Silica said wide-eyed. He managed to get a draw, Asuna whispered as for the first time ever she saw Heathcliff's health bar reach the yellow. The said man was visibly shaking with pure rage at his failure. Naruto was about to say something when all of a sudden a white beam of energy had blasted the spot he was just at and had all but the attack singed his hood and he was forced to take off his mask and cloak in the process. Everyone had looked and the face of the player they assumed was dead. A yellow flash. Naruto cursed as he looked up at a floating man that had his palm outstretched as he sucked his teeth. Damn insects couldn't carry out one simple task, the man said as he landed gracefully and stared at Naruto who had wide eyes. Who are you? He asked in slight fear. HMPH. I am Urashiki Otsutsuki you cretin, and I am here to take what is rightfully mine, he said as his eyes glowed intensely before Naruto found himself in the same exact spot he was before, where he was forced to dodge a beam of energy, but this time was not prepared for the punch that was inches from his face. He was sent flying into the other side of the Colosseum. Unlike Kagaya, I have a power that is nothing compared to any other Otsutsuki, he said. He was surprised, however, when Naruto appeared from underground and punched him into the air. Stopping himself mid-flight, Urashiki cursed as he shifted space-time instead of just time and disappeared with Kayaba. I'll be back for my chakra, he said as everyone was left aghast at what had just occurred before panicking and dispersing much like floor 1. Naruto stared at the floor as he had contemplated the sudden appearance of another like Kagaya. Guys, who the fuck was that? How is he connected to Kagaya? From what I can remember, the Otsutsuki clan are centered around god trees. Their obsession with obtaining something akin to the Juubi has corrupted the clan. However, none of us know anything beyond that, let alone whatever else there is to know about them. We were part of the god tree itself after all. This is insane. When the guy said Uchiha before passing out, I thought he meant Madara or Obito, but I wasn't expecting this. I can't handle this alone, I wish Sasuke were here. You're awake. How are you feeling? The young girl asked as she looked at him with glee. Huh? Fine, I guess, Sasuke said. Great. Nautilus, stop being shy and get in here and say hi, she said in a firm tone. Yuna, I already told you that I am not shy. Hello there, he said timidly. Hello, Sasuke said as Yuna gave him a weird look. Not to be rude or anything, but why are you dressed like that? Sasuke-san. Yuna finished. More importantly, where am I? Is the war over? Sasuke asked desperately. War? Dude, we haven't had a war in years, unless you count terrorist attacks as war. You sure he's okay, Yuna? Yuna just lightly smacked his shoulder. Don't be mean, Ig, Yuna said, but covered her mouth as she slipped up and gave out his real name. Dang it, Yuna, I thought I told you to not say my name. I know, I'm sorry. It just slipped out. Ahem, Sasuke said irritably as he glanced at the duo. Where are we? See what I mean? He doesn't even remember the fact that he's trapped. Shaking her head with a sigh, Yuna returned her gaze to Sasuke. You're in the Vermorp, Sword Art Online, she said. Out of all things she was expecting to happen today, running into Naruto was not one of them. And then Naruto-kun. Is that you? Asuna barely whispered in a desperate tone as she was shaking and struggling to take a step forward. Naruto cast an apologetic look at the girl he unintentionally hurt and broke by the looks of it. I'm sorry, Asuna, he said as he looked away with a guilty expression. Kirito nervously glanced between the two. Everyone else had run up to the group and were now anxious as to what was going to happen. Asuna clenched her fists as he banged shadowed her teary eyes. You're sorry. She whispered. After all this time, and even disguising yourself when you could have at least said hi to me at the boss meeting, sorry is all you have to say to me? she whispered as her voice started to rise and get more grief-stricken by the second. Her head rose as tears were streaming down her face, and she marched to Naruto. Bracing himself for a slap in the face, he was surprised when her head fell to his chest as her hands clutched his shirt. She started to pound on his chest. All this time I was lost, alone, and outright depressed because the man that I never got to say I love you to left me. And for what reason? Because you didn't want to be a burden. Don't bullshit me. I was so scared that you were gone, and now you come here and expect me to forgive you because you're sorry. She screamed as she lost the ability to stand and was now falling when Naruto held her by her sides. Asuna. I missed you so much, yet you didn't care one bit about me, she whimpered as she continued to sob. Naruto was getting teary-eyed as he steeled himself and cupped her chin and raised her head. I don't care about you. You think I wanted to leave? I was doing this only for you. I did everything just so you could survive and not have to put up with people hating you. I left because I care about you. It was so hard not running up to you and spilling my feeling for you, but I was afraid. Afraid that not only would you suffer once again, but that you would hate me. Never, she said as he flinched. I could never hate you. Even if you hated me, I would still love you no matter what, Naruto-kun, she said as her eyes were filled with longing as she cupped the side of his face. Naruto decided to hell with it and leaned in to kiss Asuna softly on the lips, to which she accepted as they both were lost in their own world. After they separated, Naruto's forehead was resting against Asuna's as she was filled with so much love and happiness by Naruto's next 3 words. I love you. What the hell, Sasuke thought. He was given a very hard-to-believe explanation as to where he was, and he was either reincarnated in a different world or he was actually in a different realm. It would seem that neither the first nor second option seemed plausible. So he thought maybe he was dreaming, but that possibility was ruled out the moment he felt pain more realistic than any dream he ever had. Now, he is busy trying to wrap his head around the concept of finding himself in what is essentially known as a virtual reality. He knew what games were, and he sure as hell could understand that in the future such games would evolve in some way, shape, or form. What he was not expecting was this sort of development, as he was literally playing a game in the game. Sasuke never really bothered with frivolous activities anyway, since he was too busy trying to murder his entire species, by which the motive behind that goal changed 3 times, to be frank. However, it's all thanks to Naruto that he is now accepting the fact that maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. He just wasn't expecting this sort of outcome he now finds himself in. He very well understood everything he could use at his disposal and pretty much figured out the point of the game himself without needing any help from the 2 players that he had met just yesterday evening. Sword skills, dexterity and strength, armor, weapons, and pretty much using these things to survive the 100 floors with or against other players in the game. He had gathered all this information and comprehended it in less than 3 minutes. Not only that, he was putting it to the test along with the 2 strangers he had met. Sasuke-san, now that we have given you gear and weapons strong enough to get you through these floors, we need to see how you'll survive in actual combat. Nautilus here is more or less the brawn of us too, so he'll be helping you out, she said in a chipper tone. IG, known as Nautilus in-game, was leading the 2 to an area where the weakest monsters of Floor 40, Emperor Wasps, resided in. Since you have no knowledge of being in the game until now, I can't say that I trust leaving you to fend for yourself, so we're going to see how you fare in a fight, Nautilus said in a firm tone, contrary to his usual timid one. Sasuke sucked his teeth as he narrowed his eyes dangerously while mumbling, I think I can handle myself just fine. Yuna smiled as she leaned in close to Sasuke. Nautilus may be a wimp at first glance, but when he fights it's like he's a whole different person, she said gleefully. Sasuke gave her a weird look. Are you always this happy? She returned his look with a confused expression. Well, what's to be sad about? Sasuke's eyebrows furrowed. How about the fact that you're stuck in a death game and could die at a moment's notice? We're here, Nautilus said as Sasuke and Yuna stood behind him while looking down from the edge of the cliff they stopped at. Down near several cave entrances were the intended targets of today's battle. Aiju turned to face Sasuke with a serious gaze. Are you ready? Yeah, Sasuke replied while walking forwards and jumping down while feeling for his katana that he got from Orochimaru that somehow was still strapped to his hip. Yuna and Nautilus's eyes bulged. Hey. What are you doing? Nautilus all but screamed. Sasuke smirked as he felt stronger than ever while he landed silently on the hard rock beneath him. There were about 10 wasps currently out minding their own business when they had no time to react to the blur that zoomed past them and delivered 1 cut each that served to demolish them as they burst. What? Nautilus whispered as he took witness the skill displayed by the mysterious boy they had met a day ago. I wasn't able to even see him move, it's like he teleported or something, Yuna said in an awestruck tone. Flicking his kusanagi, Sasuke rotated the sword before putting it away in the holster on his hip. He turned to the 2 gaping teens before him. Well, how was that? Are you convinced now? Sasuke asked as he was approached by the 2 who had run around instead of jumping down. Amazing, you might be strong enough to fight on the front lines. Yuna said, much to the jealousy of Nautilus. Front lines? Sasuke inquired. Yeah. They're the strongest players in the game that have fought their way to the top. Nautilus here is actually a part of one of the guilds that fight on the front lines. Yuna exclaimed. Oh? You must be pretty strong then. Sasuke asked in slight interest. Nautilus's negative emotions had disappeared and he gained a bashful look on his face. Yeah, I'm actually taking a few days off to spend with Yuna before I head back, he said. Oh, so she's your girlfriend then? Sasuke asked, honestly, much to the embarrassment of the two. Yuna just sat there with a dazed smile and a blush on her face, while mumbling, "IG likes me," while Nautilus just facepalmed. "We're just friends," which earned him a pout from Yuna. "You don't like me, IG?" she asked with a puppy face. IG panicked as he waved his hands in front of him. No, I do like you. But, it's just complicated. Yuna just burst out laughing. "I was just joking with you, Nautilus. Anyway, why don't we head to the front lines? IG, I'm sure you could show Sasuke your skills and maybe we could all join the guild together," she suggested. "I don't know, Yuna. Are you sure Sasuke wants to?" "Well, I'm interested to meet these strong players, so why not?" he asked, shrugging his shoulders. Yuna stopped in her tracks when she remembered what she promised to do before she found Sasuke lying on the ground passed out. "Sasuke-san, I'm sorry to cut things short, but Nautilus and I have something we need to do. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to show you around, but Nautilus here will show you how to." "It's fine. I'm sure I can find the teleportation gate in town and reach the highest floor so far. You guys go enjoy your date," Sasuke said. This time, however, he actually had intended to tease them. "I'm telling you, it's not like I Sasuke-kun. Hope we meet in the future," Yuna interjected as she dragged Nautilus along with her to her intended destination. As she was running alongside Nautilus, the boy cast her a confused look. "What are we needing to do again?" Yuna gave him a stern glance as she continued to run to the intended field dungeon. "Nautilus. I know I forgot, but I can't believe you didn't remind me sooner. We were supposed to help that guy from the restaurant with rescuing his party members," she explained. Nautilus's face was downcast as he analyzed the situation they found themselves in. "Yuna, it's been half a day since then, they're most likely. Don't give up until you've actually tried IG. Come on, we're almost there," she told him as they continued on their way. Neither Sasuke nor IG realized that day was the last day they would ever speak to Yuna again. At least for now. Sasuke made his way to the teleport plaza when a slightly eerie but mostly somber feeling hit him as he turned back to the direction he separated from the two players. He shook his head as he teleported to the 57th floor. As Sasuke was gathering information from players on the said floor, he couldn't help but overhear players talking animatedly about a recent duel that took place. Yeah, and that's not the only thing. This crazy monster that could talk completely destroyed the Yellow Flash. Sasuke's eyes widened briefly before narrowing slightly. Yellow Flash, but Naruto's father couldn't be here unless. He thought as he released a frustrated sigh before walking up to the players. "Hey. This Yellow Flash you guys keep talking about. What does he look like? Huh? How do you not know? Anyway, he had blonde hair, blue eyes, 6 whisker marks on his face, and wears this stupid black headband on his forehead," the player said. Sasuke's suspicions were confirmed as he nodded and continued on his way. "Thanks," he said. "Sure, I guess," he replied. "Naruto, where the hell are you?" "Say, Naruto-kun," Asuna said as she held a spoonful of strawberry cake that she had baked just for him. "Ah," he said as he devoured the scoop of cake with gusto. "Wow, that's really good, Asuna," Naruto complimented as he gave her a toothy smile. She blushed as she avoided his gaze. "Thank you." Right after Naruto had kissed Asuna yesterday, things began to heat up. Flashback to yesterday afternoon. "I love you too," Asuna said as she kissed Naruto once again, completely ignoring the audience they had. Ahem, Kirito coughed into his hand as he peeked at the two with a single eye. "I'm glad you're back, Naruto, but who was that?" "Motherfucker!" screamed 2 irate female voices. Sighing, Naruto braced himself for what he was expecting from Asuna. He got that tenfold. Before he could turn around, Naruto was grabbed by his collar and turned around by none other than Hiyori. Asuna looked alarmed as she tried to calm down the girls. "You two, don't be angry with Naruto-kun. Everything's okay now." Hiyori's eye twitched. "No, everything's not okay. You think you can just waltz right back into our lives after what you've done? Don't make me laugh. It's going to take a lot more than I love you to fix this." Jace and Kirito had to pry her off Naruto as she was struggling to pounce on him again. "That's enough out of you," Kirito said as he gave Naruto an apologetic look. "Kirito, you can't be serious." Lisbeth yelled as she pointed at Naruto. "After hearing what this guy did, I can't just simply forgive him," she said. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Naruto asked condescendingly as he put his hands behind his head. This guy is getting on my nerves. Okay, that's enough, both of you. Honestly, I'm the only one who should be mad. I already made him feel guilty, so don't go making him feel even worse. He's here now and that's what matters, she said as she wrapped her arm around his left arm. He knows he has a lot to make up for his mistakes, right Naruto-kun? She said in a scary, sweet tone. Alright, of course, he said as he rubbed the back of his head. Well, as long as you're happy Asuna, that's all I care about, Lisbeth said as she gave a gesture of surrendering with a raise of her hands. Whatever, Hiyori said as she walked off with a huff as Jace chased after her. Asuna gave him a reassuring smile. I'm sure she'll come around soon, she said to which Naruto nodded in return. Let's go, Asuna-hime, Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around Asuna's waist as her face became scarlet in response. I'll see you guy later, he said as he disappeared in a flash of yellow. Klein had a look of realization on his face. Oh, so that's why they call him the Yellow Flash, he said as everyone groaned and sighed. Flashback end. Once Asuna was done cleaning up, she was pleasantly surprised when Naruto had come up behind her and turned her head to give her a chaste kiss on the lips to which she melted at. Turning completely around, she wrapped her arms around his neck as they made out for a good 2 to 3 minutes before they separated. You just can't keep your hands off me, can you? She asked coyly. Says the one that constantly latches onto me every chance she gets, he playfully retorted as she pouted. Take that back, she pouted as he laughed while he gave her pecks on her forehead, nose, and lips before wrapping his arm around her waist while her head leaned on his shoulder. They leaned against the wall while enjoying the intimate moment they were sharing. I'm so happy that it feels like I could wake up from a dream any second. This isn't a dream, right? I'm really holding on to you at this moment, right Naruto-kun? Asuna asked as she started getting teary-eyed once again. Yeah, this is real Asuna. Also, there's something I've been meaning to ask you, he said to which she gained a curious look. What is it? Before she got an answer, Naruto touched her shoulder before they both disappeared and reappeared in a dark cave. Where are we? She asked as she was trying to recover from her dizziness. Do you remember that day I took you to this cave? This cave had the prettiest crystals that seemed to glow on and on. Asuna's face brightened as she remembered. Of course. I'll never forget it. Wait, does that mean? Yes, I've brought us here. Asuna. Yes. Naruto opened up his inventory and appearing on his palm was a ring with an iridescent shine. He turned to her and got on one knee which earned him a gasp while she covered her mouth with tears, threatening to fall from her eyes. Will you marry me? He asked endearingly. She sobbed lightly as she placed a hand on her chest. Of course. She cried out while throwing her arms around him. She pulled back and smiled at him as she leaned in for another affectionate kiss that gave her a euphoric feeling that was ephemeral when Naruto pulled away. Naruto-kun, she whined in a needy tone as she left her mouth barely touching his as their foreheads rested against one another. Asuna, Naruto began but narrowed his eyes as he constantly looked behind and all around him as if searching for something. Naruto-kun? Asuna asked quizzically. Naruto put an index finger to his lips, shh, he said which earned him a nod from Asuna as she put her hand on her holster. After a while, Naruto caught sight of a silver glow in the distance. Over there, follow my lead, Naruto said. One slow and careful step after another, Naruto was able to make out the figure and immediately dropped his guard. It's a ghost. Asuna shrieked as she hid behind Naruto. It's a girl, Asuna-chan, Naruto finished as he gave her a sly grin. Don't tell me you're scared of ghosts. He asked. Asuna put up a front and turned her head away with a tinge of red on her cheeks. I'm not, she replied childishly. Well, you won't have to worry, because I am sure this game doesn't actually have ghosts in it unless it's part of a quest or dungeon theme, Naruto said, just as the little girl had collapsed. Crap, Naruto spat as he ran after the girl with a reluctant Asuna in tow. Hey. Are you okay? Naruto asked as the girl opened her eyes as she caught sight of Naruto's worried look. I don't know, she said as he sighed. It doesn't seem like she's a player because she does not have a cursor. Asuna bent down with her hands on her knees as she gazed curiously at the girl. Maybe she's an NPC. This could be a trigger for a quest, she suggested. Naruto shook his head. If that were true, then a quest window would have appeared and asked for us to accept it by now, Naruto said. For now, let's just take her back to the cabin, he said as she nodded while placing a hand on his shoulder, where they all teleported back to floor 22. While waiting for her to wake up as Asuna was preparing tea, Naruto got a sudden familiar feeling that he hasn't gotten in a while. It can't be. Seems you finally noticed, Kurama said. It's small, but it would seem another chakra signature has appeared in this world not too long ago. With a determined look on his face, Naruto closed his eyes as they reopened with the same cross-lidded golden eyes as he had when he fought Heathcliff. No doubt about it, Sasuke's here. Naruto thought as he tried to comprehend how this simple fact was even possible. Sasuke sucked his teeth for the umpteenth time with a displeased expression. How hard is it to find an orange blob around here? Sasuke thought out loud as he had trouble finding Naruto. He had looked all around the main town and other towns as well, but had found no sign of the knucklehead that had defeated him. He even asked for information on his whereabouts from other players, but none had seen him after the duel if they were there, to begin with. Sasuke decided that he would stop at a tavern for now and get himself a drink to ease his headache. Walking in, he saw the place to be quite empty save for a couple of groups of people here and there. "I'm telling you, he has no right to be with her." A high-pitched voice suddenly shouted that caught the attention of the whole place. Sasuke just cast the girl an indifferent glance before proceeding with his order. "Iori, you're causing a scene," Jay said, trying to quell the girl's anger. "How could you be okay with this?" she shouted again. "Look, I'm not too happy about what he did, but did explain himself, and it does make some sense. Besides, he did come back right." Iori shook her head. "I still think he should be shunned for what he did," she mumbled while turning her head. "Thank you," Sasuke said as he took a seat on a stool with a relaxed sigh. "Well, whatever had happened before, I'm sure Naruto." Sasuke flinched as his eyes widened as he heard the name of his friend and brother by soul's name. He turned to the two having a heated conversation that began to slowly die down. Downing his drink in one go, Sasuke stood up and walked over to the two. "Are you friends of Naruto?" Sasuke asked. "No, we're not." "Who are you?" Hiyori asked. Jace just shook his head as he played with his food. "I'm a friend of his and I need to find him, now," he said. Jay stopped messing with his stew as he looked up at Sasuke. "Is there a problem?" he asked. "Actually, there is, and I need to see him now. I need to discuss something urgent with him and I'd like to speak to him immediately." Iori huffed. "Look, I'm not in the mood right now, so could you maybe talk to him some other time?" Jace waved his hand. "Well, just ignore her. Right now, he's spending time with his girlfriend, but we don't know where. He said he would be back in about 2 days from now. Here's what I'll do, I'll send you a friend request and let you know when he returns and where to go. Does that sound good?" he asked. Sasuke nodded. Jay sent Sasuke the request to which he accepted as he turned to go train. "That was weird. I've never seen that guy in my life and he just all of a sudden appears to be a friend of Naruto. HMPH probably just wants to get some lessons from the yellow flash ass." Hiyori spat which earned her a chop to the head. "Ow, what the heck?" she shouted. "Just forgive him already before it's too late," he said. "It's not like I hate him or anything, it's just that Asuna one night had broken down in front of me and from that night on she and I became closer as my disdain for Naruto began to manifest," she whispered in an ashamed tone. Sighing, Jay stood up. "Let's go," he said as she watched her best friend rise to leave the tavern. "Yeah. It would seem I can still use my Taijutsu, but I can't use my Rinnegan, what the fuck?" Sasuke thought with rage as he cut through a monster and several trees. "You better have an explanation for all this, Naruto," Sasuke thought to himself out loud as his Kusanagi sword clicked as it was put back in its holster. Then, Sasuke heard a painful groan quite a ways away but managed to make it out somehow. He began to make his way to his right where the sound seemed to be originating from and he was met with a sight he was all too familiar with. Garbed in his bulky red armor with his grey hair matting his pained, sweaty face was none other than the former commander of the Cobb Guild. Sasuke witnessed many desperate souls attempting to fight for every breath they could get as they barely escaped death back when he was still under the tutelage of Orochimaru. But he hasn't come across any of that during his time in this foreign world, so he was intrigued, to say the least. "Hey, what happened to you?" Sasuke asked in a less than polite way. Heathcliff turned his head to face Sasuke as he was panting heavily on one knee with his health in the red zone. "I'm in luck. Tell me, young one, what is your name?" Heathcliff asked slowly as he was struggling with every word he spoke. "Sasuke Uchiha." Heathcliff's gaze focused on the ground as he closed his eyes to steady his breathing. "Sasuke-san, I need you to take me to my headquarters back at floor 55, Kayaba barely uttered once again. "You seem to be in a rush. I'll ask you again, what happened?" he asked as he looked at Kayaba with his Sharingan active making him appear even more intimidating. "I escaped a god, I'm sure you've heard of the incident during my duel with the Yellow Flash." Sasuke's eyebrow raised. "So this was the guy that went up against Naruto? Doesn't seem like a challenge to me." He deactivated his Sharingan as he walked forward to stand in front of the old man. "Yes, I've heard about that. But 2 questions. 1, where is Naruto? 2, what do you mean by you escaped a god?" Heathcliff managed to get his breathing at a more suitable level as he lifted his head to look at Sasuke. "He is not from this world. My world, Earth, or even this universe for that matter. His name is Urashiki Otsutsuki." Sasuke's eyes widened considerably at the last name. Did you just say, Otsutsuki?" Heathcliff cast Sasuke a curious look. "I'm sure I said the name right and as to where the Yellow Flash is, he currently resides on floor 22 on a log cabin with his lover." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "I should have you know that I wasn't expecting you to know that information. I was testing you and it seems I was right to be suspicious of you. Who are you?" Aoba began to chuckle, which erupted into laughter. It seems you're more than just a curious boy. Yes, I am the creator of this world, however, my priority now is defeating this game and most of all defeating that monster. Sasu cursed at the fact that another Otsutsuki happened to be alive. If I can't even use my Rinnegan, I would not even last 5 minutes against an Otsutsuki. I need to get to Naruto quick, Sasuke thought as he picked up Aoba and at top speed began sprinting back to town. Why Yui, that is my name, the little girl said as she stared at her hands. Yui. That's a nice name. My name is Asuna and this here is Naruto-kun, she said as she gestured to Naruto, who gave her a wave. And Yudo, Yuna, she said in a soft tone. Naruto smiled at her as he raised his finger. It's Naruto Yui-chan. Naruto, he said. Yui just looked back and forth between the two before she stopped at Naruto. Papa, and looked at Asuna. Mama, she said. Naruto looked confused as hell, while Asuna was instantly exuberant at the titles. Yes, that's right Yui-chan, I'm your mama, Asuna said as she picked up Yui. Yui had a big smile on her face as she raised her arms. Mama. Naruto just had a stupid look on his face before it turned into a loving smile at the sight of his newly wedded wife and daughter laughing cheerfully as they hugged one another. He walked up to the both of them before encircling his arms around the two. We'll be a happy family Yui, he said as they both happily agreed. After a couple of days of family bonding, Naruto and Asuna suggested seeing if Yui's family was anywhere on the first floor where a player named Sasha took care of the younger kids. After having no luck, they were jumped by members of the Ankrit Liberation Force but were stopped by Naruto right before Yui had a breakdown and a shockwave erupted. Eventually, while they tried to figure out the case, a woman named Yulier asked for their assistance in a high-level dungeon that recently appeared to save her leader thinker. After literally and casually swiping his way through the dungeon, Yulier inquired Asuna about how strong Naruto was, to which Asuna said even she doesn't know what he's capable of now. She only said that he managed to get to floor 75 and was above level 200 from what he's told her, which caused Yulier to choke on her spit. Now, we find the three after having saved Thinker face to face with a fatal side that seemed to be impossibly strong. Naruto, that boss seems to be too much to handle, even for us clearers. We have to retreat now. She yelled as Naruto grit his teeth. Asuna was confused and scared when Naruto slouched, thinking that he had given up but was confuddled when he started laughing. Finally. I can finally go up against a strong boss. He yelled as he unsheathed his golden sword and in an instant appeared behind the servant as he turned and delivered 2 slashes. 2 strikes. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. Naruto yelled as he flicked his shining sword that lost its glow as the 62 slash marks finally hit at once and caused an explosion due to the massive force generated by Naruto's attacks in less than 5 seconds. Naruto thought it was over, but as he turned around to be sure, he was surprised that the fatal side had just a few hit points left in its health bar. And here I was thinking that 32 was overkill, Naruto said, moving to take it out before a flame sword had pierced its chest, leaving Naruto and Asuna stunned. I remember now, Asuna-san, Naruto-san, she said as they both were a bit saddened at how she stopped calling them Papa and Mama. What do you mean, Yui? Naruto asked, amazed at the long, red sword that Yui was holding in her right hand. Instead of a direct answer, Yui gestured for the two to follow her to the safe room where Thinker was hiding in. Both sharing a worrisome look, they opted to follow Yui, to which she was now sitting on a pitch-black slab of stone. Yui-chan, Asuna mumbled as she hesitated to approach the petite girl. This world called Sword Art Online runs on one massive system called Cardinal. It's designed to allow the game to function without human maintenance and controls the well-being of Sao. From the AIs within the monsters and NPCs to the drop rates of items and currency are all controlled by the programs run by Cardinal. Even the mental health of the players. Which brings me to answer your question, Naruto-san. Mental health counseling program prototype number 1, codename. Yui. That's what I am, she explained. Asuna gasped. A program? So you're an AI? She asked. Yui avoided Asuna's stare by gazing at the ground. I was given the ability to emulate emotion so that I could interact with the players. Everything about me is fake. Even the tears I shed are scripted into my being. I'm sorry, Asuna-san, Yui said as Asuna finally attempted to try and make contact but was stopped by a shake of Yui's head. But you lost your memories. Can that happen to an AI? Asuna asked. On the day of Sao's first launch, I was forbidden by Cardinal to interact with the players. So I kept to just simply monitoring their being as part of my program included that and was not nulled by the Cardinal. However, I was helpless when I saw one by one players consumed by negative emotions, which led to their subsequent actions that had consequences. Little by little, I was beginning to develop and accumulate errors due to this constant cycle. However, at some point in time, I noticed 2 players with completely different mental states. you exuded more positive emotions than any player I've monitored, and I immediately wanted to meet the both of you. I went to that cave because that was the time both of your emotions were heightened when I kept watch. So, I began to wander around that forest and cave, but it wasn't until later that I realized you both were already gone. So, that's why you were there, Asuna mumbled once again. I knew I felt something was off when we were both leaving, it was Yui, Naruto thought. Yui's tears continued to stream down her face as her voice began to get shaky and melancholy. I always wanted to meet the two of you. It's strange, I should not even be able to think that. I'm nothing more than a program. Asuna clasped her hands in front of her chest. Yui-chan, you're just like a human, aren't you? She shook her head. I don't know. I'm not sure what's happened to me. Naruto smiled as he walked forward and bent down so he was closer to Yui. Yui, you're no longer under the control of that cardinal thing, anyway, not that I really understand all this stuff, but a friend of mine was once bound to the fact that he was nothing more than a tool. However, fate isn't something that controls us, so tell me Yui. What do you want? What do you wish for? Naruto asked after realizing he hasn't reached his daily quota of cheesy speeches. Yui raised her hand similar to how a baby would to its mother. I want to always be with you. Papa. Mama. Yui cried out as tears were now cascading like a waterfall. Asuna could no longer hold back as she also began to cry and whimpered as she rushed forward and encircled her arms around Yui. We'll always be together Yui-chan. Asuna said soothingly. Naruto smiled as he approached the two. Yeah, you're our child. Yui began to shake. It's too late. Naruto flinched as he backed up to give Yui a confused look. Too late. Yui turned behind to her and touched the slab of stone she was sitting on. This is a console that allows GM's emergency access to the system. I used this to finish off the monster. But now it's running a check on my program and has declared me an anomaly. I'll soon be deleted by the Cardinal, she finished saying solemnly. No way, Asuna said. Can't anything be done? Naruto added. Papa, Mama, thank you. This is goodbye. No. I can't accept that. This is only the beginning. We can live happily, enjoying our days together, Asuna shouted in desperation. Unfortunately, Yui started glowing as she started to fade away. Naruto's eyes widened ever so slightly. No Yui, he said as he rushed to her side. Please, continue to save everyone in my stead and share your happiness with them, she said. Asuna violently shook her head. No. No. If you're not with me, I won't be able to smile again. Yui smiled as she brushed her hand against Asuna's cheek. Mama, smile, Yui said as her final teardrop fell and she started truly fading away. Asuna didn't realize until a few seconds after that Yui had all but disappeared. She fell to her knees and began bawling uncontrollably while Naruto stared at the ground with his fists clenched tightly. Damn it all. Naruto shouted as he punched the floor generating a small crater which startled Asuna. Naruto-kun. What should I do? Should I bring Kurito, Kayaba? But damn it, there's no time to rely on others right now. I can't afford to waste time explaining what happened. Naruto stopped trembling with anger as he looked at the GM console with his golden eyes. No, it is not over until I say it is over. Naruto thought with resolve as his entire being took on a golden glow which completely took Asuna by surprise. What the? Naruto-kun. Behind Naruto floated 9 Truthseeker orbs, while the 2 marks on his palm were also glowing. A slight difference to before was that his cross-lidded eyes were at the center of his new eyes, the Sharingan and Rinnegan in his left eye. It does not end here. Naruto shouted. We're always here to help, Naruto, Kurama said as the other Biju agreed as they focused their chakra onto Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes and after a few seconds, they opened once again, while a red and blue flame appeared on his right and left hand. Come back to use, Yui. Naruto whispered as he clasped his hands together and as he pulled them apart a rift started opening where a certain darkness was present within. How the hell did Kagaya do this multiple times? He thought as he was struggling to open the portal. He heard shuffling behind him as he turned to Asuna. Don't worry, it'll all be over soon. He yelled as he channeled his energy and forced himself to find whatever piece of Yui he could find with his sensory ability. Naruto. I know, I am on it. He yelled to the beasts as he used his chakra to link what's left of Yui and pull it out of the void that was essentially the Cardinal in physical form. Pulling out a piece of Yui's soul, her program, Naruto manifested his flames once again and clasped his hands against Yui's remains and sealed it into a crystal. Finally pulling his hands apart, Naruto was breathing heavily at his first usage of his 6-pass power that controls matter itself and had to try his best not to collapse from fatigue. He lifted his hand to a stupefied and astonished Asuna as she turned to look at the small gem. What's this? She asked. Okay, that's not something even I can explain, but I do know that in the crystal contains what was left of Yui before she was erased. I used my powers to essentially break into that cardinal thing and retrieve her, I guess you could call it her heart, Naruto said as he steadied his breathing and stood up. Asuna stared at the teardrop-shaped crystal, and tears threatened to fall again. Saying goodbye to Yulier, Thinker, Sasha, and the rest of the children, Naruto and Asuna teleported back to their log cabin as Asuna asked him if they'd ever see Yui again. Naruto replied that if he can find a way out of this game, he could probably bring Yui with him, which earned him a hug and kiss from Asuna, much to his embarrassment. She was his first girlfriend after all, and was still trying to get used to it even though he tries to act smooth. It is going to be tough though, Naruto thought. Naruto and Asuna were now making their way back to the cabin when Naruto had an eerily serious look on his face that was beginning to get on Asuna's nerves. "Naruto-kun, what's wrong?" she asked. Naruto just shook his head as he gave Asuna a loving smile. "It's nothing," he said while kissing her forehead. She smiled bashfully while gazing back into his eyes with just as much affection. However, on the inside, Naruto was going through every possible explanation that would explain why Sasuke was with Kayaba at his log cabin. Once they arrived, Naruto's suspicions were confirmed when he saw Sasuke and Kayaba leaning against the wall of his log cabin. Sasuke opened his eyes and he looked at Naruto with his usual aloof demeanor. Naruto returned the look with narrowed eyes as he approached the two. Asuna was starting to get nervous as she looked at Kayaba and more so at the stranger that was beside her commander. "Yo, Sasuke," Naruto greeted as he stopped in front of the two. "Naruto, I see you've been busy," Sasuke said as he cast a glance to Asuna before he returned his sights to Naruto. "Before anything, I want my Rinnegan back, I know you have it. I'm going to need it if we're going to take down this Otsutsuki," he said as Naruto chuckled. Alright. But first, what is he doing here?" Naruto asked. "I know you don't trust me at the moment, Naruto-kun. However, rest assured that I have experienced a taste of what you players have gone through these past 2 years being ordered around by that monster. Let's just say I am ready to put an end to this," Kayaba had said before looking at Asuna, who sweat dropped. "Asuna-san, a pleasure to see you again. I see you've worked out everything with young Naruto here," he said, to which she nodded. "Well, before anything, let's give you back your powers, Sasuke," Naruto said as he sighed and walked forward and raised his palm. Naruto made a motion to raise his palm before slapping his hand and pointing his finger at Sasuke with comical eyes. As if, "How do I know you won't go on a rampage? Please, if I wanted to destroy you, I would not have admitted defeat back at the final valley. Don't tell me you've forgotten my change of heart," Sasuke said. Well, as long as everything plays out alright," Naruto said as Asuna giggled at Naruto's antics. Naruto slapped his left palm onto Sasuke's palm before a white shine emitted between the two before all of Naruto's 6 Pathyan chakra was transferred to Sasuke. Once it was done, Sasuke opened his eyes as his Manjikyu Sharingan and Rinnegan appeared in his left eye. "Now, let's get down to business," he said. Sitting on a throne, inside the Ruby Palace was none other than Urashiki Otsutsuki as he juggled his last 3 chakra pills in his left hand. "Now, who dies first?" he said as he gained a savage grin on his face. "No, I'm fighting with you, Naruto-kun," Asuna yelled as a serious Naruto stood in front of her while Sasuke and Heathcliff stood awkwardly to the side. "Asuna, this is not a boss we're up against here. This is an enemy that not even I can take down alone that was from my world. I don't even know how he's not bound by the rules here in this game. It'll hinder me trying to cover for you and fight him. Please, Naruto-kun. We can help. Kirito-kun is strong, we have Kayaba, and are you calling me weak?" Sasuke narrowed his eyes in obvious frustration while waiting for the bickering to be done. "No, I am saying that the opponent is not something that can be measured by this game's standards. High stat points are not going to help you against a god." Heathcliff stepped forward in between the two as he raised his hand in order to placate the rising anger in both of them. Now. She has a point, Naruto-kun, do you really think so little of my intelligence? I am the creator of this game after all. He may be a god, but what's the point if he's a god if he's not in his world? You see, I noticed something about you, your friend and Urashiki, your souls were somehow transported into this game without a device to hold it. How this is possible I do not know. However, what I do know is that as long as you're in the game, you're somewhat bound by the rules. See, I had set a plan to get rid of you, Naruto-kun. By teleporting where you were up in the higher floors, using all the status ailment effects in this game and personally end your life. However, I did not account for the fact that there were countless alterations to your program which allowed for certain cheating aspects within your specific avatar. One of which included your avatar name not appearing in my player list. I knew then that I'd have to get creative." Naruto's eyebrow twitched. "I don't see a point to this long-ass speech." Heathcliff sighed. "I had no way of getting rid of you. That's when it hit me that all I needed was to study your altered program and find an antidote to all the hidden bugs that were oddly placed at your unexpected arrival. Now, I have added a hidden command to the game that was supposed to be used on you that would reset your entire virtual makeup. However, before I got a chance to execute my plan, I was taken control of by none other than that monster." Sasuke chose that moment to cut in. Just like that. He happened to have got stuck in this game, coincidentally found the creator of the game, and proceeded to take control of you? He must not be able to leave the way he came in then. Naruto's eyes widened. That's it. He shouted as he pointed a finger at Sasuke. What is it? Right as soon as Old Man Six Paths transported me to this world, it felt like something that felt similar to the Six Paths chakra came with me. It was odd, so I just assumed it was a side effect of the process. I should have been the one to survive, because I wouldn't have overlooked that fact, you idiot, Sasuke said in a dry tone. What was that bastard? Hey, it's not like I could have done anything. I had to gain everything I once had back, so I wouldn't have been able to do anything regardless. Anyway, Sasuke began as he turned his attention to Kayaba. How do we know this will work? It'll be similar to a level reset, only it's not resetting your progress, but essentially breaking down what allows you to exist as you three are now. He'll be as vulnerable as a regular human being. That's awesome. Naruto whispered as he clenched his fist in an eager manner. However, Kayaba interrupted. Naruto blinked as his smile faded slightly. I couldn't find a way to make this work as all my other commands. I've had to design and script it as an add-on of sorts. Meaning, it must be integrated with another program. What? Naruto asked confuddled. Sasuke sighed as well as Asuna this time. As dense as I've heard you or Naruto-kun. It means I must add it to your avatar. The question is, who's going to be able to use it? All three blinked as both Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other. Why am I suddenly feeling deja vu, Sasuke? Naruto asked. Maybe it's because we have a similar solution to beating one Otsutsuki the way we did Kagaya. It was a rhetorical question. Do you even know what that means, knucklehead? Why you? Enough, both of you. Asuna yelled as she pushed them both away from each other. I don't take orders from you, Sasuke spat as he gave her a glare. Hey, cool it, that's my wife. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. I don't care. Why don't we go ahead and get on with this already, shall we, Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun? Kayaba asked as he opened a corridor to the Ruby Palace. Naruto turned to Asuna, who had an extremely worried look on her face. Go wait with Kirito and the others. Once the game is cleared, we'll think of a way to get me out of here so I can see you again, okay? Sasuke had not visibly reacted to this, but internally was confused as he assumed Naruto wanted to find a way to head back to the elemental nations. What would this mean since he now has his Rinnegan back? Promise me you'll come back to me? Asuna asked as she began to sniffle as tears stung her eyes. I promise, and I swear on my ninja way that I'll come back. I never break my promises. He said with a smile as he put a thumbs up. Okay, she said with a loving smile as she extended her arms out waiting for Naruto. He smiled with great care as he pulled his wife closer to him and gave her a temporary goodbye kiss that would have lasted long if it hadn't been for Sasuke pulling him off and dragging him through the portal, which left Asuna starting to not like Naruto's friend. Be safe, she whispered before she opened her menu and stared at Kirito's name. Her expression changed to one mixed with fierce determination as she hurried and used a teleport crystal right after she sent him a message. So, this is the 100th floor, huh? Naruto asked as he marveled at the palace in front of him. Let's get this over with, Sasuke uttered ever so impassively as he strode past Naruto. Yes, let's. Naruto and Sasuke's eyes widened as Naruto had no time to react to Urashiki's kick to the face, which left him impacting the door of the palace, where he was stopped as the indestructible panel had popped up but still left Naruto stunned for quite a while. How the fuck did he get behind us? Sasuke thought as he'd reacted quickly thanks to his Sharingan, which kept him safe from a strange red string that seemed to be coming from Urashiki. Oh? You're a quick one, huh? Urashiki asked rhetorically. Sasuke even used almighty push to get Kayaba away from the attack too. Sasuke ignored the Otsutsuki as he pulled out his sword and lunged forward, aiming for his head with a horizontal slash. Urashiki faked a worried expression. Whoa there. Sasuke grunted in annoyance as he channeled lightning into his sword, which caused multiple lightning blades to protrude outwards, which a few managed to pierce Urashiki, who cursed and tried to blast Sasuke with a wide energy blast with his left hand. Sasuke concentrated more chakra to his Rinnegan, which expanded his field of vision and managed to switch places with a statue that was right behind him, but this drained his upgraded version of the Rinnegan even more. What the hell? Urashiki shouted and cursed as he took a step back. Is that a Rinnegan? He whispered nervously. Who are you? That doesn't concern you right now, you should be mindful of your surroundings, you know. Huh? Urashiki asked mockingly before he felt a burning pain from his back. Naruto Shippuden Os3, those who are encouraged optional. Lava style. Rasen Shuriken. Naruto shouted as he fired off the melting hot chakra bomb straight at the Otsutsuki as he realized he let his guard down against two chakra users that he hadn't known were here. Ah. Urashiki shouted as he was being launched back with the attack before he smirked. Just kidding. Sasuke and Naruto were left speechless as Kayaba stood up, recovering from Sasuke's jutsu. Urashiki had brought back that strange red string that had managed to shrink Naruto's jutsu and turn it into what it once was, chakra, before he shrunk it all into a concentrated form of chakra. What the hell? Naruto shouted. Reverse, he bellowed before the vector of the attack completely switched and resumed its previous form, the lava style. Rasen Shuriken. Sasuke. Naruto yelled. I know. Sasuke shouted in response. Kikido. Sasuke thought as he raised both his hands and began absorbing the chakra monster of an attack. Before Sasuke could finish, Urashiki tried spearing Sasuke with his red string, but Naruto entered Six Paths mode and made chakra hands that grabbed a weapon. Urashiki sucked his teeth as he created another white blast aiming for them all, but Sasuke used his power once again to switch places with Urashiki, who got hit by his own attack. Is this all you've got? Sasuke asked with a more calm and collected tone. How dare you tatter the clothes of an elite member of the main clan of the Otsutsuki? Unforgivable, Urashiki mumbled as his certain parts of his hair now covered his face, which contorted in anger as a shockwave erupted, and with his Byakugan activated. He downed the 3 last chakra pills given to him by Momoshiki. Sasuke and Naruto became wary of the increase in chakra. Sasuke, this makes Kagaya look like she has genin reserves. Shit. I'm not gonna bother with freezing you all for 10,000 years. Just time for you all to die now. Urashiki shouted. He raised his palm as the floor beneath them cracked and large boulder clumps began to rise before he lowered his palm and they all rushed toward the trio. Scatter. Sasuke shouted as Naruto took Kayaba with a chakra hand and Sasuke shifted space with his eye to appear next to the palace door. He cursed, however, when his Tomo began to fade and he was forced to rely only on his Manjaku Sharingan for a little while. Multi-shadow, clone jutsu. Naruto shouted as he put Kayaba down behind the army of clones that were buying them time. Kayaba. Now would be the time to give us that program thing. Sasuke grunted in frustration. I didn't think he'd be waiting for us right there. We should have done this before we teleported. Alright, just let me find it, okay, so Kayaba started to say, but was interrupted by Sasuke. Naruto, do it. Right now, I need to charge up my Rinnegan, which would take too long. Also, for some reason, it didn't last as long as it did in the war. It's because we're in this game. Our powers are limited unless we level up. I don't think you've had much grinding time, so you're actually weaker than I am right now. So, you made the right choice. Give it here, Kayaba. Kayaba added on the program to Naruto's, and now Naruto felt as if he could for some reason see numbers, symbols, and letters faintly. Sorry Sasuke, I'm going to borrow something, Naruto mumbled before he tapped Sasuke on the head, which earned him a slap. What was that for? He shouted. Naruto opened his cross-lidded eyes that now had glowing red rings around his pupil. A simpler version of the Sharingan, but it's better than nothing. How did you? I don't know, but looks like we don't have time. Urashiki had enough of all these annoying clones as he had now counted over 3,000 he had destroyed and still rapidly counting. It's useless, he shouted as he extended his arms and in one hit, all of the clones disappeared. Damn, I even gave them all more chakra so they could last a few hits, Naruto mumbled. You're only prolonging the inevitable chakra stealers. Urashiki shouted. Switch to Naruto and Boruto asked, awakening. Naruto stepped back as Urashiki stomped on the ground where he was just standing. So, this is what's it like to see the future, huh? Naruto cocked back his fist and released a powerful punch aiming for the Otsutsuki's head. However, he managed to dodge the attack, but Naruto had already been one step ahead, and with his speed enhanced by his chakra cloak and foresight combined, he pretty much backhanded Urashiki with his right hand, which launched him off the bridge connecting to the palace. Damn it. He cursed once again as he took to floating in place. This doesn't make any sense. Naruto made contact with Urashiki and began to notice the difference at once. His chakra was decreasing rapidly. The add-on program worked. My power, it's waning. Damn you, human. What have you done? Naruto closed his eyes before he took to floating as well and summoned his Bijuu blade that, when equipped in his Six Paths mode, actually started to take a different form. For one, they split into 2 swords, with the left being pitch black and the right being a golden color similar to an Excalibur. Both had rings hanging onto the hilt similar to the Six Paths staff. It's over. Naruto shouted as he rushed forward and activated something he stole from Urashiki, the Byakugan. With this, my sword skill is complete. Naruto thought as he began his attack. 2 hits. Which Urashiki couldn't even see executed. 4 hits. 8 hits. 16 hits. 32 hits. 64 hits. Naruto shouted as he finished his attack and finished with a stab to Urashiki's stomach. The others will find. He didn't finish as he had disappeared into shards of blue. Naruto had a contemplative look on his face as he stared at the spot in front where the pale god once was. Amazing, Kayaba whispered as he had a glimpse of a sword skill that managed to reach a combo hit that wasn't even supposed to be reached in the game. The combo is what makes a sword skill what it is. Regular hits don't have the system-assisted speed that allows for combo build-ups. The window to continue the combo is very small. Ostend. Naruto then turned his gaze toward Kayaba as he narrowed his eyes and rushed forward in an instant. Now, release everyone from this damn game. Naruto shouted in anger as he gripped the man by his chest plate. Kayaba was surprised by Naruto's sudden hostility and smiled as he nodded his head. Of course, but how will you and your friend Sasuke-san get out? I am a genius but not a god so I can take care of that, Sasuke said as he had gathered enough chakra in his Rinnegan for the Tomo to reappear. I can open up a portal with my Rinnegan no matter where I am at. It should allow for our spirits to exit this game and somehow find our real bodies in the world. Wait, so what happened to Urashiki? Naruto asked, completely forgetting about the maniac. Kayaba stood up from his kneeling position. His soul was pretty much trapped in the game, but despite all that, he was not able to escape due to my restrictions and the fact that he was recharging his power from what I could tell. So, the fact that he died in here means his body is nothing but an empty shell now, still alive, but his mind is forever lost. I didn't understand any of that, Sasuke opened portals. While I was within my mindscape I had a bit of practice with all my other abilities. However, the moment my Rinnegan disappeared was the moment I appeared in this world, Sasuke said as he shot Naruto an annoyed look. Sorry, Naruto said as he explained about the sage putting the yin chakra into Naruto. I see, well now it's time to go back and tie up loose ends, Sasuke said as he gave Naruto a curious look. Naruto shifted slightly as he noticed they were all floating above the castle now, while the whole gang was made present including Asuna. Asuna. Sasuke sighed as he knew Naruto wanted to stay, but he had a bad feeling about the future, and he needed him there. Naruto, we have to go back, he said. Asuna had a tragic look on her face at what Sasuke had said. Where are we? And what's he talking about, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked down at the castle in sadness and remembered what Urashiki had tried to say. Naruto rode to Ninja Os thank you. He turned to everyone with a smile that would give Sai, when he was still working under Danzo, a run for his money. It was fun meeting you all. Every challenge I got through was thanks to the bonds I formed during my time here. I am really lucky to have met you, Asuna. And while I know we've just ended the struggle of a lifetime, I just wanted to say that I'll miss you all. Just know that while I understand that this won't make any sense, I have to leave yet again. Asuna had tears running down her face. I knew this would happen. Naruto's band shadowed his face as his fists clenched before turned around and had tears streaming down his face. And I want you to know that I won't hate you for it this time. I understand that you have your own world, your own home. But, I don't want you to go. Asuna. She flinched as she was breathing hard from the pain she was starting to feel. Don't go. I have to, I'm needed there, and as much as I want to stay here, I can't. You have your world and I have mine. I'm sorry I couldn't make up for the last time I did this, goodbye. Sasuke had a guilty look on his face before he resolved himself and opened a portal right in front of the palace door with his Rinnegan. Let's go. Soundtrack switch. Naruto Shippuden asked the guts to never give up. Will we ever see you again? Kirito asked as the rest of the gang were busy crying or trying to hold back their tears at seeing their blonde friend go. Naruto stopped right in front of the portal before he gave them a thumbs up with a smile. Who knows? He said before he walked up to Kayaba. Do it, he said. Kayaba nodded before he opened his menu and set the last boss requirement to null and ordered the game to be ruled as cleared. Once the announcement came on, Asuna rushed to Naruto before hugging him. I'll always remember you, she said. Naruto blinked away his tears before hugging her back. Same here, he said before retreating from the hug and turning to Sasuke who was huffing and gave Naruto a glare. No, take your time, please, Sasuke grumbled while everyone started laughing uncontrollably. Naruto turned around one last time as Sasuke jumped in the portal before leaving himself. Once the portal closed, everyone didn't have time to talk before they were all released from the game. Stepping out of the portal was Naruto and Sasuke before they realized one crucial fact. Sasuke, the infinite Tsukiyomi is still active. Naruto shouted before he was bonked in the head by the Uchiha. I can see that. Now let's undo the jutsu. Naruto. Sasuke-kun. Sakura yelled as she found the two just standing with both of their arms missing. Sakura-chan. Naruto yelled as he waved. All three were gathered and conversing lightly, while Sakura was panicking and healing their stumps as quickly as she could. Looks like they're back to normal, Kakashi said as he pulled his headband down to cover his eye for the last time. Well, it's time to release everyone, Sasuke, Naruto said as he formed the left-hand part of the rat seal, while Sasuke formed the right-hand part. Once they both put it together and released the jutsu, everyone was finally released and the world found peace once again. Meanwhile, is everything in order? Someone asked. Yes, the 300 mines are now trapped within the game, another replied. Good, you'll soon be mine, Asuna, I hope this is the place. Standing just outside a red dusty wooden door was Kirigaya Kazuto, better known as the Black Swordsman from Sword Art Online. A few wooden crates were piled up next to the entrance, along with some advertisements and posters decorating the outside. Overall, the place looked as if it could use some fixing up. He stood right in front of the door on the empty street staring at his phone before looking up at the sign hung up on the entrance. Icy Cafe. Pocketing his phone, Kirito placed his hand on the door handle, turning it and swinging the door open slowly. He was slightly startled by the jingling bells as in an instant he was hit with the smell of cinnamon mixed in with the scent of liquor and smoked wood. He took notice of how empty the cafe was before he walked up to the counter looking somewhat lost. His confusion was soon cleared when he saw the same person that fought alongside him in the virtual floating castle. Agil. Kirito gasped in surprise. As always, Agil was drying a glass cup as he walked out. Well, technically my name is Andrew Gilbert Mills, but it's fine if you call me that. Nice to finally meet you in person, Kirito, Agil said putting his hand out with a genuine smile. You're one to talk, Kirito replied, shaking his hand before taking a seat. Kirigaya Kazuto is my name, but you can call me Kirito. Agil chuckled. Smart ass, he pointed out as he grabbed a glass and poured Kirito some water before sliding it in his direction. He accepted it graciously before taking a few sips and then leveling Agil with a serious expression. So, what exactly did you call me over here for? I assume it has something to do with Sao. Agil nodded grimly before going through his pocket and pulling out what seemed to be a picture. He held it for a split second before he set it down and pushed it toward Kirito. Look familiar? He asked as he placed his hands on the wooden counter. Kirito's eyes widened considerably. Is that Asuna? Kirito exclaimed as he looked at Agil confusedly. But, I thought she made it out safely just like the rest of us did. Agil shook his head sadly. I thought so as well, but someone actually managed to get a snapshot of her. Which, honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Kirito looked at him with desperation and worry. What is it? Have you heard of Alfheim Online? Kirito shook his head. Wait here, he told him before placing his rag on the counter and turning around to go the back. Kirito was only waiting for a few seconds before Agil came back out with what looked to be a game. He showed Kirito the front cover of the case. This here is a new game that everyone is buzzing about. Kirito rose an eyebrow. I thought after the Sao incident that VR was shut down entirely. Well, that is technically true. However, the authorities made sure that future games and full dive technology created would be superbly safe from here on out and decided to support the innovation of the nerve gear, the Atmosphere. Of course, it's all for marketing purposes if you ask me, Agil said as he crossed his arms disapprovingly. Kirito stared at the game for a while before picking it up and checking out the contents. So, Asuna is stuck in this game now. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Kirito questioned as he rose his voice just a tad bit. Agil raised his hands placatingly. You know, I did just find out about it this morning. I was in the dark about it too. Heck, I haven't even met you until today, but I managed to contact you as soon as I found out. Kirito calmed down a bit at that. Also, it seems that they are introducing magic and flying in this game, so that could also be a major reason why it's so popular. Kirito put the game down before sighing and placing his hand under his chin looking to his right. I'm guessing it can't run without the Atmosphere. Agil shook his head. Actually, since the game is based on the same system as Sao was, the Nerve Gear's hardware should be able to handle the software requirements. Similar to running a game intended for next-generation consoles on the previous generation. Except, in this case, the system actually lets it run the game. There was a long moment of silence before Kirito stood up from the stool and picked up the game. Do you mind if I borrow this for a while? Actually, I was going to ask if you wanted to use it. I'm sure you're going to need it more than I will anyway, he responded with a raise of his hand as he returned to wiping down glass cups. Thanks, Kirito said as he was beginning to head out. Kirito, said Teen turned to look back at Agil who had his eyes closed and had stopped his drying. Bring her back, alright. Kirito's expression shifted to that of a determined one. You got it. Exiting the cafe, Kirito looked at the game once again before he was left contemplating everything that has happened over the past 2 years. Now that Naruto's gone back to his world, it's up to me to make sure Asuna's safety is ensured. First, I'm going to have to find where she's being kept, Kirito thought as he continued on home to do some findings of his own. As Kirito was walking back to the train station, he passed by a particular teenage boy around his age, following after his own parents. Kirito passed by him while the brown-haired boy turned to look at him as he rushed on by. Ig, come on now. With a dead look in his eyes, he turned and kept following his parents half-heartedly back to their car. The following morning, Ani-chan. A female voice shouted, although her voice was blocked by several walls and a door. Snoring loudly while laying back on his chair was none other than Kirito. He had drool coming out the side of his mouth with his left arm and right leg draped uncomfortably on the furniture. Ani-chan. This time, the said female decided to knock a few times as she was now standing outside his door. Kirito shot up from his slumber abruptly shrieking as he ended up falling on the floor not even fully conscious yet. Opening the door, his sister Suguha was standing there looking at him with a stern expression. What she saw was a Kirito laying on his left shoulder in an odd position with a pained look on his face. "Honestly, it's already past lunchtime and you're still sleeping," she nagged as he just sighed and got up. "Sorry, I was up all night and lost track of time." She gave him a pout before turning on her heel and motioning for him to follow. "Well, hurry and freshen up before your food gets cold." Kirito nodded. All right," he responded as he scratched the back of his head on his way out. Once he was done with his morning routine, Kirito trotted downstairs to grab some food to nourish his scrawny body. Spending all that time in a virtual world definitely didn't do his health any good. Waiting patiently on one side of the table, Suguha was waiting for Kirito before she started eating. "So, what were you doing up late last night?" she asked. Kirito was busy scarfing down his rice and fish that he hadn't even heard her. She cleared her throat. He was halfway through devouring his seventh mussel before he gave her a sheepish look. "Sorry, I just didn't realize how hungry I was until I actually started eating." She nodded in understanding. "Just don't eat too fast or you'll choke." He thanked her before he returned to eating. "So, what were you doing?" she asked once again. He stopped again and this time actually finished his meal. "Well, there's someone I've been trying to find and it just so happens that someone I know happens to know where she's being kept. It took a while to reach him though, hence why I was up late last night." Suguha tilted her head slightly to the right. "Who are you looking for?" Kirito just stared at his hands as he folded them in front of him. "Someone important to one of my friends. I guess you could say she's his girlfriend, but that's beside the point. Sugu, you'll be okay by yourself, right? I'm gonna head to the hospital now." She nodded back as she began cleaning up the table. "Just be careful, okay?" He waved goodbye to her. "I'll be fine. I'm heading out now. Have a safe trip." Making his way to the train station once again, Kirito was busy studying the floor below him occasionally. Here and there he would be brought back to reality by either bumping into someone on accident or just catching himself randomly similar to one staring off into space. It took approximately 20 minutes just to get to the hospital where Kirito would meet up with someone named Kikuoka. Entering the building, he was met with a sight he was familiar parting with about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Nurses, doctors, and patients all bustling and waiting to see their loved ones or to even be treated themselves. Kirito took a look around before deciding that it would be best to go and talk to the receptionist. Excuse me?" he asked, standing awkwardly at the counter. "Yes, how may I help you?" she asked, glancing up at him from the paperwork she was currently working on. "I'm here to visit a friend of mine. She should still be connected to a nerve gear and her name's Asuna," he told her. "I'm sorry, but only authorized personnel, as well as relatives, are allowed to visit those. Kikuoka-sen gave me permission to visit her. I was told that this is where she's being held." She looked up at him before gesturing for proof. He nodded before handing her papers that were faxed over to him containing his authorization. "I apologize for the inconvenience. She's located on the 3rd floor, room C18, which is all the way to your left once you exit the elevator." She handed him back the documents while he gave an appreciative nod. Once he exited the elevator, Kirito hurried toward the end of the hallway, reading the room numbers until he got past 17 and eventually was standing outside C18. He steadied his breathing before gripping the door handle firmly and sliding it open. Once he was inside, he took a look at the only bed being occupied and was taken aback by what he saw. Laying flat on her back, her chestnut locks spread out underneath her with a nerve gear attached to the top of her head, was Asuna. Kirito's hand was shaking at this point as he couldn't believe his eyes. She really is trapped. Hearing the door open, Kirito was met with the sight of 2 men in suits as they entered the room. One looked to be in his late early 20s, while the other looked to be old enough to be Asuna's father. "Oh, well, this is a surprise. I didn't know that there were others allowed to see my daughter," the older man said, walking forward to stand in front of Kirito. I was trapped in the same game as she and we fought together. Kikuoka-sen also gave me the authorization to visit her as well as her location." "My name is Kirigaya Kazuto, sir," he said as he bowed in respect. Nodding, Asuna's father continued forward to check up on his daughter. Turning his attention to the other man, Kirito couldn't help the bad vibe he was getting from him. Walking up to Kirito, he stuck out his hand. "Well, it's nice to meet you. You said you helped protect Asuna-chan, huh? Thank you very much for protecting my fiancé." Kirito couldn't help the dreadful feeling he got when he heard that. He looked to the side forlornly. "It's no problem," he mumbled as he stepped to the side while Asuna's father smiled at their interaction. "Well, I just hope that my daughter wakes up soon or I don't know what I would do. Though, I'm glad you're getting well you too," he said as he began to walk towards the door. "I'll be taking my leave now, Sugu." Sugu bowed. Of course. Once Asuna's father had made his way out, Sugu's whole demeanor subtly changed, but Kirito's was none the wiser as he was only getting a bad feeling. Sugu had walked up to Asuna slowly as he started rambling on before he turned to Kirito with a twisted look. Honestly, I can't stand the fact that you even exist. To think that someone like you even interacted with Asuna at all is such an eyesore. Kirito reeled back in confusion and a bit of disgust. Especially so, when Sugu began to grab parts of Asuna's hair and sniff it pervertedly. Kirito didn't even want to think of what Naruto would do right now if he saw this, but he himself was practically livid at seeing someone do such things to Asuna while she's vulnerable. Get your fucking hands off her. Sugu raised his eyebrows slightly. Did I strike a nerve there? Kirito narrowed his eyes dangerously. Seriously, get away from her, you creep. I don't know who you think you are, but you better stop what you're doing. Smirking, Sugu walked away from Asuna and had all but unveiled everything he was doing behind her father's back. You trapped 300 players from Sword Art Online in Alfheim. You sick bastard. You don't think you're actually going to get away with this, do you? Sugu sucked his teeth as he shook his head slowly. I wouldn't tell anyone a peep about what you heard unless you want me to erase Asuna-chan's memories. Kirito was aghast as adrenaline was pumping throughout his body. Well, what did you just say? Chuckling maniacally, Sugu walked past Kirito standing side by side with him. That's right. I'm in control of Asuna's fate, so if I were you I would tread carefully and think about what you say or do with this sensitive information, hero of Sao. As Sugu was exiting the hospital room, he heard the voice of Kirito once again. I'm not. What was that? Sugu asked in a mocking tone. I'm not the hero of Sao. But trust me when I say you don't want to do anything to Asuna, otherwise you might end up regretting it, Kirito said as he turned to give Sugu a death glare. Scoffing, Sugu opened the door and continued to leave the building. Kirito's anger receded as he stared at Asuna with a somber look on his face. He then clenched his fist as he stared out at the sky. Don't worry Naruto, I'll save Asuna. The last. Naruto the movie OST Naruto main theme 14. As the sun was just beginning to rise over Konoha, a certain blonde shinobi could be seen meditating on top of the fourth Hokage's stone face. The birds began to chirp and the cold winter air breeze blew the remnants of snow throughout the village, almost as if a painting itself was in live action. Just yesterday, the whole world was on the verge of being bombarded by meteors that were quickly dealt with by Konoha's top-class shinobi. As well as a little help from a wandering warrior discovering the world and finding himself along the way. Exhaling out slowly, Naruto opens his eyes as he stands up, his whole body blocking out the now rising sun. He looked down at his right hand covered in bandages before clenching it tightly. Looking up at the sky, he couldn't help but look back on everything that has happened in his entire life. His hair swayed back and forth with the wind blowing on it as he then closed his eyes once again before bowing his head down. Naruto is now 18.5 years old, standing at about 6 feet tall and with a change of attire as well as a tad bit of trimming done to his unruly hair. It's now been a day since he had gone to not only rescue Hanabi but also her elder sister and his friend Hinata. Unfortunately, despite the fact that she managed to tell him of her feelings, he just didn't reciprocate the same love that she held for him. He couldn't for some odd reason explain why whenever he looked at Hinata, he just didn't feel the same spark that he was beginning to feel toward the end of the war. Ever since the end of it, which was a year and a half ago, Naruto just felt as if a part of himself was missing. After a couple of seconds of silence, Naruto raised his head once again as his eyes shot open revealing his sage mode eyes. But that all changed yesterday when he went on his mission to retrieve Hanabi with Hinata, Shikamaru, Sai, and Sakura. Ostend. Flashback right after Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, Sai, and Shikamaru stopped Toneri. Naruto and the team organized to rescue Hanabi and Hinata had finally managed to complete their mission as well as to defeat Toneri Otsutsuki. While they probably would have preferred to rest or even take their time heading back, they could not due to the fact that the portal gateway linking the moon and the earth was just about to completely self-destruct. Naruto turned to the rest of them before they all nodded at each other and began making their way back to the gateway and then back to Earth itself. When Naruto and Hinata were making their way through the very same space that caught them in a Jinjutsu, they were both exposed to their memories up until now, fighting and laughing. Naruto, however, was not expecting to see memories he didn't even remember making. When he made his way in, he also had a similar experience, but it was not as vivid as the memories before him are now. Constantly shifting images and sounds of a girl that he swore he remembered from somewhere, and that somewhere in his heart he felt something pretty darn close to love for her. But the question is, why did he forget her if she was so important to begin with? He then remembered the one and only person who would have any answers as to why he was in the position he was in now. Sasuke. Flashback end. Naruto stood up straight as he had a look of pure concentration on his face. Naruto, you have to understand that Sasuke was right in doing what he did, Kurama told Naruto as he was sitting on all fours, his 9 tails swaying behind him. Yeah, right. I'm sure if I did the same thing to him he would be just as enraged as I am right now. I mean, this girl meant the world to me and I am just supposed to forget about her. Naruto retorted with a hint of betrayal in his face as he raced out of Konoha. Well, if you're going to go after him, you might as well use your chakra mode. Naruto shook his head. I don't want to draw attention to myself. It's better this way, trust me. Kurama just huffed as he settled with laying on his belly while resting his head on his arms. Naruto was hopping from tree branch to tree branch insanely fast. Not only that, but at his current speed most people would not be able to react at all to any incoming branches, yet he is swiftly dodging each incoming branch quite easily. Half an hour had gone by, and he finally managed to reach the border of the Land of Fire. A wave of nostalgia hit him as he glanced down at the final valley where he fought Sasuke twice. Speaking of, sitting idly on top of Madara Uchiha's rebuilt stone statue with a peaceful look on his face was none other than Sasuke Uchiha. He was garbed in the same attire that he was in when he saved the village from the meteor that was literally 50 to 60 feet away from the village's tallest buildings. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he jumped off the branch he was on and landed on Hashirama's stone head. Sasuke breathed in slowly before exhaling and opening his eyes to meet Naruto's stern gaze. So, you decided to pay me a visit so soon? Sasuke asked. Sasuke, I have a few questions for you. Sasuke noted Naruto's tone of voice and facial expression. What's with that face? Did I do something? Naruto clenched his fists before pointing at Sasuke accusingly. You know damn well what you did. How could you erase my memory without even talking to me about it? Naruto roared as he took a step forward and unintentionally cracked part of it. Sasuke was not at all fazed by Naruto's rage, but instead took to solving things with his calm and collected demeanor. Naruto, did you really think I was going to risk letting you go back to that world? I mean, you have to understand now what I mean when I say we need your help here where we belong. Had it not been for you, the earth would have been destroyed by meteors. Don't you get that? I can't allow you to risk the end of our world for some silly crush you have in another. Naruto had a conflicted look on his face before he put his arm down and his shoulders slumped. I know that. But, I can't just sit here when she needs my help. Sasuke was stupefied when he heard that. What do you mean? How do you know she needs any help? Naruto looked down at his bandaged hand with a melancholy expression. I don't know how, but when I was on my way back to the earth, I not only remembered parts of that world, but also was able to see her trapped in the very same place we saved her from. Sasuke sighed. I'm sorry, but there's no way in hell I'm letting you leave. There's too much at risk, and there's still plenty left that needs to be done here. Bastard. Shut up. What do you think this will accomplish, huh? Think of this, you leave and go off to save her, and while you are gone another enemy reveals themselves, and yet you are nowhere to be found. I can't risk that. Naruto clenched his fists again before swiping his arm sideways. I can't just abandon her. You of all people should understand. I refuse to let you go. This is pointless, Sasuke mumbled as he activated his Sharingan and revealed his Rinnegan. Naruto sucked his teeth while his shoulders slumped. Looks like there's no other way then. I'll beat the truth out of you, Naruto said before activating his 6-pass chakra mode. Before Naruto or Sasuke could even make a move, they both sensed a presence and heard clapping before turning to the sound they heard. Alright, let's settle down you two. We would not want a repeat of what happened in the war now would we? Naruto got out of his battle stance as he stood confused. Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke just decided to watch and listen. Sasuke, it would seem Naruto had figured out. I knew this would happen sooner or later, so let's just the both of you calm down. Naruto released a sigh of frustration before turning off his mote and scratching the back of his head. You knew too, sensei? Kakashi nodded. I'm sorry that this happened, but we have a very good reason for doing what we did as Sasuke had explained earlier. Sasuke scoffed as he crossed his arms in slight triumph. Naruto was not faring very well when it came to containing his urge to just fuck it all and sent Sasuke flying. But, it is unfair that we didn't even let you in on this, so I have decided to let Naruto at least go do what he needs to do. Both Sasuke and Naruto were taken aback. Kakashi. There's no way in hell you are serious, right? Sasuke asked, shouting as he jumped off the stone head and landed next to Kakashi on Naruto's side. Actually, I am very serious, Sasuke. Also, I am the Hokage now. You do not get to challenge my authority, especially due to the fact that we let you off the hook when we should have executed you on the spot. Sasuke just cursed as he turned his head away in shame. So? You're just gonna let the dope go then? Kakashi just smiled as he placed his hand under his chin and looked up at the sky. Not quite. I'm not stupid after all. Naruto rose an eyebrow at this. What do you mean? Kakashi changed his posture as he gave them a serious look. Well, Sasuke's right in that we need your power here, Naruto. I've once said that not caring about your friends' feelings are even worse scum than those who abandon their friends. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at that statement. I had a very valid reason for not agreeing with this reckless idiot. Kakashi raised his hand. And I agree with that reason like I mentioned before. However, let's let Naruto handle his situation, since there was obviously a reason for him being sent there in the first place. Maybe this was the reason. But, of course, due to my position as the 6th Hokage, I can't just let one of my most valued shinobi desert the village and the world now, can I? Kakashi asked rhetorically. Naruto looked away in embarrassment. Now, I let you go under 4 conditions, Naruto. Naruto perked up at this but was soon a tad bit annoyed. Geez, 4 conditions, sensei. That's a bit much, don't you think? Sasuke leveled him with a glare. You should be glad he's letting you go at all. Naruto just gave him a glare back. He's right. Condition number 1. You must be ready at all times to be transported back to the elemental nations. Who knows what other threats might require your assistance, so just be wary of that. Condition number 2. You must keep up your training during the time you spend there, otherwise it'd do more bad than good having you back when you can't even keep up with Sasuke. Condition number 3. Aside from Sasuke having his Rinnegan, there must be another way for you to come back on your own. So for that reason, you must also have a way to come back to this world without Sasuke's help. As the conditions piled up, Naruto continued to get more worried at his odds of being able to go rescue Asuna. And finally, for the last condition. You must keep you being an alien tight-lipped. Who knows what the people from that world are capable of, so it should be in your best interest to keep who you really are a secret. Well, aside from the people you've already told. Naruto chuckled nervously as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. My bad. Sasuke shook his head. Well, I don't see a problem with any of the conditions save for the fact that I don't think Naruto can figure out a way to somehow travel through dimensions with his own power. He would need a Rinnegan for that, and I don't plan on relinquishing mine at all. Kakashi smiled once again as he clapped his hands together. That's why we're going to fully restore Naruto's memories. Sasuke looked up incredulously. I figured that we would have to do that anyway, but why are you telling us this? That's because Naruto was able to recreate the Hiraishin back in that other world, right? So who's to say he can't do the same here? Naruto made a sound of confusion. But, I've always been able to create seals. Kakashi and Sasuke both were taken aback by this statement. What are you talking about? Kakashi asked. I'd like to know the same, Sasuke added while placing his right hand on his hip. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but ever since after Sasuke and I fought I've just been able to understand, decipher, and create my own seals. At this point, I'm more than capable of even possibly improving my dad's Hiraishin. Though, I still don't know how to go about it. Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Well, how about we start now then? He asked before Sasuke nodded in conjunction. Early afternoon was an everyday routine for her. After every one of her shinobi duties was complete, she would take the time to water the flowers that she kept in the shop. Humming a random tune as she showered the flowers with fresh water, Ino was surprised when all of a sudden Naruto, Kakashi and even Sasuke decided to show up to her shop. Naruto, Kakashi, and is that you, Sasuke-kun? Ino asked as she stood dazed and not able to believe that her former crush was standing right in front of her. What are you guys even doing here? Kakashi walked forward followed by the other two. Well, you see. Approximately 5 minutes later. I see. So you managed to find out, huh, Naruto? Ino asked as she was slightly sweating as well as avoiding Naruto's scrutinizing gaze. He crossed his arms. Yeah, you could say that. She exhaled as she buried her face in her hands. This is literally the worst feeling, you know. Okay, we know what we did wasn't the best way to treat a comrade. But, can we focus on what we came here to do now? Sasuke asked half-heartedly. Kakashi nodded. Ino, we need you to completely undo the jutsu you applied to Naruto so that he can regain his memories completely. Ino soon had a look of realization on her face before she nodded. I'm on it. Naruto laid down on a metal table as Ino performed the hand seals for the specific sealing jutsu she used to lock up Naruto's memories. Once she completed the series of seals, she extended her arms as she placed her palms on top of Naruto's forehead. Once she had done that, it took a moment to search for the specific memories she was looking for before she found them and formed a ram seal with her left hand. Release. She uttered as some residual chakra had released around Naruto, which then caused him to shoot up from the table with slitted eyes. Flashback, can you tell me again why we are going there? Naruto asked hastily as he began to get irritated at his current predicament. Sasuke sighed. This is because we need our psyche to be checked by Ino just to make sure that nothing is wrong. I mean, we did travel to a different world, so I think at least that much is in order, he replied as he kept his eyes forward. Naruto had his hands locked behind his head. Is that so? He asked before smiling like an idiot once again. Sasuke caught sight of this before he began to get annoyed for some reason. What's with that look? It's getting a bit creepy. Naruto just widened his smile. I'm just glad that I met Asuna-chan is all. Sasuke shook his head while smirking. Never thought you would break out of your dense shell, idiot. Hey, I heard that. Naruto shouted back. It looks like you guys made it, Kakashi said as he was standing outside in his Hokage getup, waiting for the two of them just outside the Yamanaka quarters. Let's get this done. Once they made it inside, Naruto was laying down once again on a metal table. He looked around before catching sight of Sasuke. Sasuke just looked at him oddly before his Tomo started to spin on his Rinnegan and Naruto was knocked out of consciousness. All the while, Sasuke did not just knock out Naruto, but he was also standing in front of a certain nine-tailed fox. "You have got a lot of nerve coming in here again, Uchiha brat," Kurama spat as he growled. Sasuke just gave him an unimpressed look. "I need you to do something for me, Kurama." Kurama just looked surprised before he chuckled, which turned into crazed laughter. "And what exactly is that, human? I need you to keep what you've witnessed today a secret from Naruto. The only reason why we are doing this is so that he can continue on his road to not only become Hokage, but to keep this world safe and out of harm's way. Can you do that for me?" "HMPH, you sure are cocky ordering me around." Sasuke shook his head. "I'm only asking this as a request, not a demand. Please." Kurama looked astonished at the fact that Sasuke was being so nice. "Fine, but only because it's for the good of the ninja world and Naruto himself." Sasuke closed his eyes. "Thank you." Ino just gave him a questioning look. Sasuke shrugged. "I'm not going to take any chances." She just nodded before activating her jutsu, which completely locked up Naruto's memories for good. Flashback end. Naruto was panting heavily with sweat dripping down his body like condensation from the sides of a glass of water. He clutched his head at the massive influx of memories he had been forced to remember all at once. It felt 10 times worse than when he trained with his shadow clones to create the Rasen Shuriken. Ino looked at Naruto with concern plastered on her face. "Naruto, are you okay?" Naruto's head was hanging down looking as if he was heavily depressed before he lifted his head up with tears streaming down his face. "I remember, and I also remember that I have to save a certain someone in trouble." Kakashi nodded his head as he took a couple of steps forward. "Naruto, now you just have to show us your version of being able to come back at will." Naruto had a look of realization before he smirked his usual confident smirk. "Of course." Now standing around in the Hokage's office, Naruto, Sasuke and Kakashi were all present watching Naruto create a few strokes with his brush before pausing and studying his artwork before resuming his drawing. Kakashi cast a glance to Kakashi before raising an eyebrow. "Kakashi, do you understand any of this?" Kakashi looked up at Sasuke before nodding. "I understand one thing about what Naruto is making. The only thing I can make out is that character right there, chakra." Sasuke shook his head mentally. "Of course that's the only thing." About 10 to 20 minutes later, Naruto had finally finished creating his sealing array for transporting him back to the elemental nations. Sasuke crossed his arms. "So, what exactly does your seal do?" Naruto stood up while wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Well, to put it simply, this seal consists of 3 important aspects." "3 aspects?" Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded before pointing to the top of his seal. "Aspect number 1 basically requires a large amount of chakra that will allow me to travel through universes, seeing as I don't have a Dijutsu. Aspect number 2 is pretty much a highly upgraded version of my dad's Hiraishin, just that it was altered to catapult me to a different universe. And finally, in order to actually come back to the right universe and still be in one piece, I made this part consisting of a reinforcement seal on steroids, as well as a new seal I made, which will lock onto your chakra signatures, no matter how small or far away you all are." Kakashi chuckled once again before ruffling Naruto's head. "You've definitely become the best Fuinjutsu master in the whole world, Naruto." Naruto was used to being praised every day by girls and a few male fans here and there, but it has been a while since he was acknowledged by one of his closest comrades. "Thanks, Kakashi-sensei." Naruto noticed something off with Sasuke as he saw him twitching, but before he could do anything Sasuke had grabbed Naruto and teleported outside the village. When Naruto had finally recollected where he was, he caught sight of Sasuke standing there with his Sharingan activated once again. He gained an angry expression as he watched Sasuke stand there. "What the hell do you think you're doing, bastard?" Sasuke placed his hands on his hips as he leaned on one leg. "Naruto, well, I'm only going along with Kakashi because he's the Hokage now and I do have sins to atone for. I cannot allow you to go without at least knowing you can hold your own against me." Naruto's eyes widened for a few seconds before he straightened up and held out his fist for Sasuke and then bringing it to his chest. "I can't sit around here when someone needs my help." "You better prepare yourself, Sasuke," Naruto said as he got in a fighting stance. Sasuke entered his own fighting stance as well. Naruto Shippuden Ost Kakuten. In an instant, Sasuke disappeared in a burst of speed and was right below Naruto getting ready for a nasty uppercut with his right hand, but Naruto barely managed to react by blocking his fist with both his arms. Sasuke wasted no time and following up with a spinning crescent kick which Naruto once again just barely avoided. Naruto had not time to breathe as Sasuke had all but rushed forward once again and attempted a flying kick which Naruto knew he had to dodge. Sasuke had already known this was going to happen and at the last second spun around into a roundhouse kick which caught Naruto off guard, causing him to have to block on instinct which sent him flying. After colliding with a few trees and rocks, Naruto managed to get a grip, literally, onto a tree and launch himself straight at Sasuke, who had already begun throwing shuriken with his one hand at Naruto. Cursing, Naruto threw his own shuriken to collide with Sasuke's as he ran past them. Sasuke smirked as he used both his hand and mouth to bring back the shuriken with wires, causing Naruto to have to jump up to avoid them. Then, Sasuke performed a few one-handed seals before shooting out a massive fireball aimed straight at Naruto. Naruto created a shadow clone that he managed to jump off of while he was going straight for Sasuke. Since Sasuke couldn't see Naruto, he was caught off guard, but due to his sharpened senses, reaction time, and foresight, he was able to intercept Naruto's attack and was about to retaliate before he noticed that this Naruto was a clone. He sucked his teeth before he was kicked away by the real Naruto and was sent flying. Payback is a bitch, isn't it? Naruto shouted. He was not prepared for Sasuke to suddenly be behind him, and he did not even have time to look back before he was about to be pierced by a Chidori. However, Sasuke met thin air as Naruto had performed his Hiraishin on a kunai he had left behind when Sasuke launched his fireball. Sasuke was confused before he had to dodge a giant Rasengan aimed straight at him that completely decimated the ground and surrounding area. Sasuke's eyes had widened considerably as his Tomo spun and morphed into his Mangekyo Sharingan, while Naruto had turned on his Six Paths mode. Naruto Next Generation's Ost Spin and Burst optional. Naruto and Sasuke rushed at each other with their top speed, trying to best each other at Taijutsu, but failing to get any other result besides stalemates. Naruto and Sasuke to others would like a bunch of streaks of lightning crashing constantly with one another. Sasuke had to amplify his speed with his lightning nature in order to keep up with Naruto's speed. Naruto blocked the barrage of Sasuke's kicks and punches, and seeing an opening Naruto attempted to kick Sasuke away, but Sasuke held his hand out. Shinra Tensei. He bellowed as Naruto was sent flying, but not before he executed another Hiraishin in order to appear behind Sasuke. Sasuke once again was flabbergasted at how Naruto managed to get behind him so fast. As a look of realization crossed his face, Naruto hit him with a wind-style Rasengan that at first was doing some considerable damage before he felt the chakra being sucked away. Damn it, I completely forgot about this ability. Naruto thought as he immediately disengaged. It's over, Naruto. Sasuke yelled out as he held his hand out again. Bansho Tenin, he shouted once again as Naruto was being pulled toward Sasuke. Naruto then used this to his advantage and formed a shadow clone that he then hurled toward Sasuke, who had a Rasengan at the ready. Sasuke focused chakra to his left eye as Naruto's clone went up in black flames. Naruto used his chakra cloak to keep him from taking damage while using another arm to smack Sasuke away, who in turn teleported behind him with his Amenete Jakara. Naruto grinded his teeth frustratingly. Switch Odanabuna no Yabu, Kishu. Naruto out of nowhere had glowing rings around his eyes as he managed to react to Sasuke's attack. Sasuke's eyes widened considerably at Naruto's sudden change. He kicked Sasuke away while he began to gather chakra into his palm. Jinten. Rasengan. He then flashed to where Sasuke was laying on the ground and hit him with his magnet-style Rasengan. Sasuke was about to absorb the chakra but for some reason was unable to. He then noticed a second pair of hands on him and felt his Sharingan fading. Naruto rarely had a serious look on his face these days, but this moment was one of them. You're probably wondering what I did to you. Well, thanks to my full recovery of my memories, I was able to come up with this Fuinjutsu on the fly. You see, it completely restricts the usage of any Dijutsu by cutting off the special chakra that flows to the optic nerves. Basically, you're out of luck. Ostend. Sasuke had a look of pure defeat on his face before he settled with surrendering himself. Looks like you got me again. Though, if it wasn't for the fact that you learned a whole bunch of things from that other world as well as got a piece of my power, things would not be the same. Naruto sighed before ruffling his hair. Honestly, why can't you just let me go? You know I won't stand still while she's in danger, right? Sasuke looked up once again at Naruto with calculating eyes. Well, how do you her friends want to save her? I don't. And while I don't doubt any of their strengths, I simply don't want to take any chances. Sasuke scoffed. Will you get over that already? Look, I'm sorry and I will help you, alright. Naruto nodded before he motioned for Kakashi to come out. Well, it looks like you guys are done for now. So, what will you guys do now? Naruto looked around at both of them before putting his hands up behind his head. Well, considering that fact that Sasuke and I just had a huge fight, I think it would be best to call for some help on getting me to where I need to go. Both Kakashi and Sasuke's interest was piqued slightly. Naruto bit his thumb before he slammed his palm on the ground. Kuchius no Jutsu. He yelled out as suddenly streams of kanji had branched out and then 7 puffs of smoke had taken up the forest. Now, Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi were all staring up at the 7 Biju that were at rest all this time. Oh. Naruto, huh? It's been quite some time since we've heard from you. How have you been? Matatabi asked as they all took in their surroundings. I've been better, he replied. Hey, you better have a good reason for summoning all of us here. I was just enjoying my peaceful slumber after all, Son Goku complained, his four tails swaying violently behind him. And I do have a good reason, so I'm going to need your guys' help. Whatever you need us to do, Naruto, Kakuo stated. Naruto nodded. I'm going to need to ask you guys to lend some chakra to me if that's okay. Naruto asked as he clapped his hands above him while bowing. They all looked at each other before agreeing shortly thereafter. Why not? We haven't done anything useful for a while anyway, so this would be a good way to make up for that. Thank you all very much. Sasuke gave Naruto an impressed look. Well, looks like you're finally using your head for once, dope. But tell me, since when were you able to summon the Biju like that? Naruto put a finger to his lips. That's a secret. Sasuke just put his hand in his pocket. Whatever. They all put their hands together while Naruto once again bumped his fist against theirs. Once that was done and over with, Naruto felt a huge boost to his chakra reserves, as the once minuscule chakras that were given to him before by the beasts were now even greater than before. Damn, this is sure a lot of chakra. Sasuke put a hand to his forehead. You're telling me, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this with my own two eyes. Naruto then brought his hand back as he nodded at all of them. Thank you all once again for coming to my aid. They all nodded before they all disappeared in a poof once again. Naruto turned to Sasuke and Kakashi before he gained another look of seriousness. Let's get this over with, he said as he activated his six paths mode once again. He walked up to Sasuke who sighed for the millionth time today. Just don't do anything stupid. Naruto had gotten very irritated at Sasuke's comment. Shut up. Alright Naruto, now you just need to do your part on the other side. Just remember that. Naruto nodded before he turned to Sasuke who turned around and motioned for Naruto to proceed. Naruto walked up to Sasuke and placed his right hand on Sasuke while transferring as much chakra as he could. Sasuke felt the sudden rush of chakra and had concentrated hard on activating his Rinnegan's abilities. After a long 5 minutes, Sasuke had finally locked onto the world he was looking for and his eyes shot open as a portal opened up linking both worlds. He was panting as he turned to Naruto. Well, there we go. You're free to go. Naruto retrieved his hand before giving Sasuke a pat on the back. Thanks for doing this, Sasuke. Sasuke smiled before he nodded. Go save your girlfriend. Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head once again with embarrassment. I got it. We'll meet again, Naruto, Kakashi said with a wave. Naruto was about to head out when he turned to the both of them. I already told her, but tell Hinata that I'm really sorry. And that I didn't mean for things to happen this way. Sasuke nodded. Yeah. Naruto nodded before walking through the portal that had finally closed up. Once he had walked through the portal, Naruto analyzed his surroundings and was very confused by what he saw. Where the heck am I? Scratching his head, Naruto looked around with squinted eyes, but then in awe watching the people trapped in moving robots move around in an orderly fashion. He continued to observe his surroundings, and his face began to get sourer by the second. I'm in the correct dimension, right? Naruto thought, and after a few seconds smacked his forehead. Ugh. Well, better to find out more about where I am just in case, he mumbled to himself before making his way down the hill he arrived on. Fortunately, there was no one else present when he had suddenly appeared, so he didn't have to worry about knocking anyone out anytime soon. He was now briskly making his way down toward the city below him. He passed by very few people who did not pay him any mind as they were busy talking amongst themselves. He then decided to stop one of them before they walked past him, scratching the back of his head awkwardly. Excuse me, but do you know what the name of this village is? The woman, who looked to be in her early 30s, gave him a confused look before saying something in a language he could not begin to understand whilst shaking her head. Sorry, I can't understand you, he told her in an embarrassing manner. Sighing, she just took to shaking her head and kept saying things he couldn't understand and slowly walked away. Naruto reached out desperately with his hand before he relented and his head dropped. Where the hell am I? He asked despondently. His face returned to its usual determined expression before he huffed and smacked his cheeks, returning to walking. He would also still attempt to ask certain people for help as he walked by, but would still get the same response. Shaking his head with even less spirit than he had when he came here, Naruto just stood and looked around him, observing everything he could see. I can't even understand any of the writing here. Where the hell did Sasuke send me? Naruto shouted all of a sudden, which scared some people half to death. Naruto just shrugged it off before shoving his hands in his pockets and walking aimlessly. This is already turning out to be a bad start. Naruto decided to disappear in a burst of speed before arriving at a secluded area where no one would even think to look for an alien. Naruto then crossed his fingers and muttered, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Before 10 clones came into existence. That should do it. They then performed the transformation jutsu so that no suspicion arises and proceeded to set out in order to gather whatever information possible. Naruto turned away as his stomach growled. He rubbed his stomach as his mouth started to get more salivated by the second. Looks like I should probably take a break. He looked to the left and to the right cautiously before tapping his wrists with his fingers, which in turn activated a storage seal he had which held an average-sized scroll. Unrolling the scroll a bit, Naruto placed his palm on one sealing array that poofed and in his hand was now a steaming bowl of miso ramen. Naruto perked up and his mouth started to water. "Thanks so much, old man," Naruto said with a somewhat sad tone. "I wonder, do I have to choose between the two?" Naruto asked himself as he looked out at the traffic he could see past the alleyway and then his bowl. "Well, whatever," he mumbled as he sat on one of the walls and proceeded to eat his ramen with an unusual depressed look on his face. "What happens after I save her?" Sasuke watched as Naruto disappeared into the portal before it closed. Kakashi walked up and beside Sasuke before turning to him. "Well, it's nice to see you're doing okay. How goes your journey of atonement?" he asked sincerely. Sasuke just scoffed as he usually does and walked away. "I still don't agree with your decision, Kakashi. Helping not another world, but some girl means nothing for us. Especially when they don't have the slightest clue another dimension is nothing but crazy talk, let alone something they can enter." "Ah, but that's just it." Sasuke stopped walking as he turned to Kakashi. "What? Naruto is going to be the next Hokage. He's gonna need to be here at all times when he takes over, so that means no outbursts like what just happened now. Keep in mind, it was time at work here, so either we took care of this problem now while it still is manageable, or we wait until it gets even harder to deal with when our leader is tempted to leave a shadow clone, while he leaves not only his village but his world. His journey to the moon is what triggered this. It has nothing to do with time and everything to do with chance." "I wasn't done." Sasuke looked slightly interested in his answer. "What is it?" "I'm starting to suspect we are not the only ones who exist in this world, or in this dimension, I should say." Sasuke cocked his head sideways. "What are you getting at?" "When you told me of the Otsutsuki you both battled the thought kept bugging me. Where did he come from? And then it hit me, there must be a group of powerful beings out there somewhere who have the resources to attain strength on par with Kagaya's and Madara's instantly. That is not to say that they won't be even stronger. So Sasuke, I need you to be my spy." "Spy?" Kakashi nodded. The tension suddenly rose in the atmosphere. "It's gonna be more dangerous than your daily feedings of animals and dealing with rogue shinobi. I'll give you time to finish this up and of course to work on your skills, but sooner or later I need you to travel to the other dimensions that Kagaya resided in. That will be our first clue as to what is going on and why she came to this world. Then, we'll go from there. Which also works out because before you go, you will check on Naruto." "I see. And when do you want me to embark on this mission?" "In 4 months. Man, nothing beats Ichiraku ramen," Naruto exclaimed. "Now, let's." Naruto stopped what he was doing as he clutched his head and staggered very slightly. "No way, I can finally understand someone," Naruto said as he jumped to his marker that his shadow clone placed on the said someone right before disappearing. He instantly had a look of horror on his face once he materialized. "Crap. I completely forgot I was in another world due to my excitement. If anyone sees me I am fucked." Then, with otherworldly speed, Naruto was undetectable, as before anyone could even blink an eye, he used his 6 paths chakra to fly away with instant acceleration, using his 6 paths hermit mode, avoiding using his cloak since the bright shine that it gives off would still possibly expose him. It's simple, but it worked nonetheless. "Now let's try something old but new," he thought miles in the air before he exhaled slowly, his cross-lidded pupil shrinking back to the center, and then formed a hand sign which triggered the transformation jutsu turning him into a bird. Now. He flew down and above the man who was walking at a leisurely pace so he wasn't too far away. "I wonder where he went." I turn around for 1 second and when I turn back around I feel a slight burst of wind and he's gone. Maybe the supernatural is real, what if he's the Flash? The man exclaimed in pure excitement as he continued on his way speeding up his pace. What? Time to rewatch season 2 which was by far the best out of all of them. I cannot understand him anymore. What the hell is going on here? My shadow clone's memories confirmed, he responded in Japanese. Naruto continued to grow more frustrated by the second before he dived down and headbutted the man's back before they both disappeared in a flash. When the man came to, he instantly screamed right before puking out his guts. Naruto undid the transformation before he landed on the ground softly. "Looks like I am able to perform space-time ninjutsu while transformed, just as long as my chakra touches who or what I want to bring with me. Huh." Turning around, he spluttered as he was too confused and scared all at once with the emotions at their highest peak. What the hell just happened? "Who are you?" the man asked, followed by a shriek as Naruto walked forward slowly with him backing up fast. "What are you? I thought you could speak Japanese. What the hell is going on here? I need information and all I hear is gibberish," he shouted as he comically pulled his hair and thrashed about. The man did not say anything before his eyebrows raised, while both his eyes and mouth widened. Hey, wait for a second, you're Japanese. Who are you? Naruto mumbled as his mind caught up with what he has done. I fucked up already. I forgot I was also under a transformation when I talked to him. Then, Naruto perked up as he just realized he understood the man. Wait, you just spoke Japanese. I can understand you now. You have powers, don't you? Oh my god, if you have powers that must mean becoming the Flash is possible. I can achieve greatness. Naruto gave the man a deadpan look while his hands twitched slightly. What I would give to have a Rinnegan like Sasuke's and just go through this guy's memories. Excuse me, and that strong wind that came out of nowhere. That must have been you speeding off. Meaning you must be from the future because you have the technology to change your appearance like in the show. Technology that doesn't. Shut up. What is with you? I need your help. Naruto shouted as he thrashed about once more while invading the man's personal space and poking him aggressively, which caused his whole mood to change. Geez, sorry. You try being single, living alone, working and eating daily, and then realizing the supernatural exists one day and keep calm. This is similar to something straight out of a comic book. What the hell is a comic book? Naruto shouted again. Forget it. Where am I located? What kind of question is that? You're going to have to be more specific than that because I could tell you a lot of things. Sighing, Naruto lightly smacked his forehead over and over again. What is the name of this village? Did you travel to the future? Buddy, there are no villages in the United States. The United States. Was I transported to a new game? What's this game called? Now it was the man's turn to give Naruto a deadpan look. Are you a moron? Naruto grabbed the man by his collar with both hands. Fuck it. I'm a moron, so explain to me what Vermorp we are playing because clearly, I am in the wrong one. Fucking Rinnegan bastard is gonna get it when I come back for his ass. Naruto said as he was once again pulling at his hair and thrashing about. Vermorp. Dude, you're way too high right now. You're from the past and all so how do you know what that means? He asked in a confused tone. It doesn't matter and I am not from, what Vermorp are we playing? Naruto asked his whole body shaking with rage. We're not playing a Vermorp you retard. We are in the real world. Man, you must have been jumping through time like crazy that caused you to be high or something. Do you know what a Vermorp is but not a city? I was willing to help you, but I'm gonna be late back from lunch break to my job and you're actually pissing me off. Completely ignoring what he said after the phrase real world, Naruto remembered his first conversation with Kirito. That's right. Kirito said that everyone's bodies are in another world, whereas their minds are in a simulation also known as a Vermorp. Hey, you said we are in the United States, right? Yeah, what of it man? He asked in return while impatiently tapping his foot. What language do you guys speak? Bro, I am not gonna walk you through 11 years of education you missed out on because clearly, you didn't get past the first grade. I'm out of here, he replied before he was quickly stopped and shook with complete fear as he stared right into Naruto's red-slitted eyes. We are not done here. I need you to tell me everything I need to know. Someone is in danger and if I don't help her bodies will be broken, starting with you. He backed off and stumbled before falling down on his ass. Alright. Just don't kill me. Alright. Naruto said as his whole demeanor changed. The man asked no one in particular as he was genuinely confused by the change. Like I asked, what language do you guys speak? English, he responded politely still with a hint of fear in his voice. Interesting. So this world speaks more than one language. And where do people that speak Japanese live? Still shaking in fear but so tempted to sigh and just kill himself right there he answered, Japan, right before he started tearing up out of frustration, humiliation, and all the emotions welling up inside him at his powerlessness against a complete idiot. How do I get to Japan? Naruto asked. You take an airplane you ride a magical flying machine that takes you across the water that separates our lands. Naruto crossed his arms. Where do I find one of these machines? At an airport. Look, man, it's really far away and I don't have a car. I walk to and from work which by the way I'm probably going to get fired for being late back from lunch again when this time it's not my fault. Naruto sighed. Fine, what does the place where these machines exist look like? Wait, let me pull up a picture on my phone. Phone? By God man, yes, a phone. I'm not going to explain because you won't understand. After a few taps, sliding, and a couple of more taps on his screen, to which Naruto was right behind him with stars in his eyes watching everything, he pulled up a picture of the location in maps, as well as a picture of an actual airport. Okay, so this is what it looks like and how to get on a flying machine to Japan. You're gonna have to go through security after buying your ticket there, and then once you get on the plane follow all the instructions, and once you stop you should be there. Okay, I didn't follow any of that. Just show me what Japan looks like. Clenching his fists, the man just begrudgingly pulled up a world map and other pictures of Japan to give him an idea. Is east or west faster from the United States to Japan? West, you know which way is west, right? He asked, relieved that Naruto looked ready to leave. Yes, I'm not that dumb. I'm a shinobi, after all, surviving is my main priority. Shinobi? Wait for a second, are you? Before he could even finish his sentence he could see a blinding light behind him starting to get brighter and as he turned around to look, he saw another clone with his hands on the ground and what looked to be kana magically spreading around the clone's hands that were planted on the ground. Then, his memories were erased of everything that happened involving Naruto, while Naruto used Hiraishin to teleport to one of his kunai. Man, that sure was a frustrating guy to talk to. Good thing I went through my dad's old scrolls and found this jutsu formula he used, but I wonder why he would create such a ceiling jutsu in the first place, Naruto thought out loud. Naruto crouched down before launching himself into the air and floating high enough to not be easily detected. Kurama. To your left. Thanks. Naruto chuckled in his mindscape before closing his eyes and activating his six-path sage mode, instantly enveloped by his shroud of chakra. You're my most powerful host, yet the biggest idiot to have ever existed. Yeah. All jokes aside, I have to find Kirito somehow. I wasn't joking. At this rate, his HP will run out. Suguha thought as she watched Kirito rise up from his kneeling position, recovering from his loss of health once more. Kirito, just stand back. We will die, but it will only take a few hours to fly back to this location. Just give it up. She shouted. Never, Kirito said turning to her with not the slightest hint of wavering on his facial expression. Leafa flinched as beads of sweat began to fall in slow motion as she stared at his determined face. I won't let anyone in my party die as long as I am alive. Letting out a ferocious bellow, Kirito's eyes widened considerably, showing he's taking this particular situation more seriously than others normally would due to his history with Sao. He dashed forward and sprinted as fast as his legs would let him. Hearing this and seeing his completely different approach to his attack, the salamander players were taken aback and slightly lowered the guard in surprise before they recovered. However, their faces showed no worry until Kirito leaped 10 feet into the air, landing just in front of one of them into a crouching position. He grabbed one of the shields and proceeded to jam his sword in between both shields. What the hell is this guy's problem? It's like he's fighting for his life. Both parties' mages began conjuring their spells, while the salamanders right in front of Kirito jumped backward, timing it right with the fireballs, so as to not allow Kirito to anticipate where the attack would land and give him time to dodge. He attempted to block the blasts with his sword when he noticed the shield around him, as well as his HP intact. Kirito-san, now. Yui shouted. Kirito began conjuring up his own unique illusion-type spell, to which Leafa's eyebrows rose. The residual flames began getting sucked toward Kirito as they swirled around him forming a huge vortex. Leafa was sweating at how huge a monster he was becoming. If I remember how it looked. Once the flames dispersed, it showed Kirito transformed into what looked to be a giant raccoon dog with blue tattoos on its sandy-colored skin, as well as a huge sharp-looking tail swing behind him. The salamanders were utterly destroyed with just swipes of the tanuki's tail, while the remaining survivors Kirito casually ate. One was running for his life when Leafa shouted out Kirito's name, "Leave him alive." She shouted. Kirito's tail stopped swinging in preparation for another swipe before he began to return to his normal avatar appearance. Leafa ran up to him and pointed her sword at the remaining salamander. Now, who sent you to attack us? As the bargaining between Kirito and the salamander ceased, Leafa looked curious about something. Kirito-kun. He responded. What was that monster? She asked. I've never seen a monster in any of the lands I've traveled to that even comes close to resembling that, nor does it seem like something that represents a monster out of a fantasy-themed MMORPG. You could say I saw it through a friend, he replied. Literally. I won't pry any further even if I don't get it. Hey, could you taste those guys when you ate them by any chance? He turned around and bit her hand in response which earned him a hard slap. Ow. He yelped in pain. What the hell was that for? But the huff, she just took to storming off with an annoyed expression on her face. Yui flew above Kirito's head. Why did you do that, Kirito-san? Leafa was too far away to hear, but Kirito said, it was just a joke Yui, which earned him a frown from Naruto's virtual daughter. What a weird joke. Kirito was spacing out before he snapped out of it after realizing that he was all alone with Yui. Wait up. I don't know where I am going. Kirito turned around when he noticed Yui was spacing out herself, a sad expression adorned her face. What is it, Yui? He asked carefully. Appa? Kirito asked in a hopeful tone as well as a confused one. Appa's here. XX flashback 2 hours ago XX. Well, there it is, Naruto said as he looked down at the serpent-shaped land. Honestly, this world is much bigger than back home. It felt like the ocean stretched for an eternity. Naruto groaned as he looked down at his cloak. And for some reason, I feel so light here. As if I can fly without this moat or something. After turning his head back to Japan, Naruto turned off his mode and created 20 shadow clones, this time to which they all turned into birds except himself. I need to walk around myself as I look just in case one of them is out and about and not in a game. Oh. He shouted as all of them flew down toward Japan. Naruto then heard a loud sound slowly getting louder and turned to look behind him. He then was wide-eyed when he noticed something coming at him at high speeds. What the hell? He shouted as he turned on his mode and in a flash was underwater as he had dived down. Those must be the magical machines that guy was talking about, Naruto thought as he held his breath and sat cross-legged with his arms crossed in the middle of the deep sea floor. He then gasped slightly when he received the memories of one of his clones. He closed his eyes before he disappeared from the ocean. Appearing at one of the markers his clone set, which was in another empty alleyway, Naruto began to shake off the excess water on his black shirt and orange pants. I didn't know where else to go, so I had to dive straight down to hide. Don't want to cause a commotion. After he was done, he walked out and was greeted by the sight of the streets of Kawagoe, located in Saitama Prefecture. Japan, huh? Naruto walked around slowly as he looked upon the crowded streets. How am I supposed to find Kirito like this? There are way too many people, he mumbled and sighed, rubbing the back of his head with his left hand shoved in his pocket. He looked around and conversations he could hear by focusing chakra to his ears he could understand. Some looked like they didn't fit in and were speaking the same language Naruto heard back in the United States, English. He was able to tell due to the same tones and pronunciations people and that one guy used. He continued to walk around until he stopped someone who looked to be of his age. Excuse me, do you know who Kirito is? Shaking his head, he replied with a no, sorry, and continued on his merry way with an awkward look on his face. Naruto continued to embarrass himself by asking people every so often as to not draw unwanted attention by asking every face he sees. After no success trying to see if anyone recognized the name, Naruto slumped and sighed. Information gathering sucks. I'm more suited to combat than this stupid shit. Language, young man. Have you no shame? A woman slapped him on the head with her fan. Watch it, lady. Naruto shouted. Boy. You watch it, buddy. That's my mom you're talking to, a boy who Naruto now saw had brown, wavy hair that covered his forehead and his eyes partially. I guess you don't know how to treat the elderly, let alone a lady. Well, I don't take orders from anyone, Naruto said, crossing his arms. Ig, let's just go. Some people just don't know any better. Naruto watched him carefully. Hoi. Ig turned to look back as he kept walking, but instead gave him a dirty look. Know the name Kirito? Ig's eyes widened as he stopped in his tracks. He then started grinding his teeth while veins were popping out. He clenched his fists that were stuffed in his pockets. Never heard of him, Ig said as he turned his head back around and continued to walk away. Naruto just stayed silent as he observed the boy that was walking away. Hey. Naruto looked confused before he turned around to see someone standing behind him. They both stared at each other with wide eyes. You look familiar, they both said at the same time. Naruto raised an eyebrow while rubbing the back of his head. Then, they both ceased any movement of their bodies while their jaws dropped and eyes widened. Jace? He asked. Naruto? He asked. Jace raced up to Naruto with his laptop bag strapped to his side with his fancy suit and tie jetted. So, this is what you really look like, huh? What, you mean the clothes? Please, after everything that happened, I decided to listen to my parents and give up gaming. Seems, I wasn't too skilled anyway to live that life. Yeah, true. Boy. Shaking his head, Naruto invaded Jace's personal space. Anyway, I need to know where Asuna is. Jace's smile then fell. Right, of course, you're here for her. Everyone knows including Hiyori what's going on. I forgot to mention it to you just now because it's been so long. Naruto grabbed Jace's collar. Whoa. He shrieked. Where is she? Jace looked down. Stuck in another VR game. Naruto's eyes widened. Will she die? If she dies in the game? We are not sure since Kirito is able to log in and out. Naruto looked up at him. What game is it? It's a game called Halo that was recently released apparently. It doesn't cost much since there's an understandable paranoia due to the Sao incident. Where is Kirito now? I don't know. I only know of the place where we meet. Take me there. Naruto tilted his head sideways. What? I have work, he said sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. What is with everyone and work? What the fuck does work mean? He shouted loud as hell. Jace was covering his ears. Cool down, bro. Naruto was huffing. If your girlfriend was in trouble, I'd like to see you cool down, bro. Point taken. Listen, just go find a place called Icy Cafe. Naruto looked around and saw no one in sight. Done, he said as he disappeared once again. Jace blinked his eyes comically. Huh? He said while rubbing his eyes. Naruto's shadow clones had completed scouting the whole country and got a good look at exactly the door with the words Dicey Cafe on it. On to important matters, he mumbled as he opened the door. Naruto's here. Yui, how can you tell? Kirito asked. Yui shook her head. I don't have data to support this, but ever since Papa saved me, I've been feeling this connection to him in ways I can process. Kirito looked confused. Is that why you were a gem? Yes, and thankfully Mama thought ahead and materialized me from their shared inventory and told me to find you. That makes sense. Why didn't you tell me this before? Yui shook her head. I had forgotten for some reason until I felt Papa. Kirito just sighed in relief. With his broken stats, this should be way easier, Kirito mused as he ran to catch up with Leafa, Yui finally following suit. Materializing from the sky, Naruto had a confused look on his face. Wait. I decide to play fair and use that damn machine, and now I have to learn how to fly with wings. What the fuck? Naruto shouted as he was descending all the way down to the bottom. Landing with a painful thud face first and his limbs all crooked and painfully bent was Naruto after he had just experienced free falling from the sky. He was twitching a couple of times here and there before he stopped altogether. Why me? Complained Naruto as he straightened himself after sitting up and ruffling his hair. He took a moment and looked around him with a lost look on his face. Where am I? Naruto looked around at what he presumed to be a vast forest, coupled with the smell of pine trees and a slight scent of wet grass. He could hear the faint sound of rushing water, as well as the occasional chirp of a bird or the scurrying of a small animal. Clear skies with the heat and glare of the sun beamed at him, which caused Naruto to block it with his right hand. What the? He blinked a couple of times as his head slowly rose, showing he was following the side of something massive. That's one huge fucking tree. Shouted Naruto as he gawked at the world tree. It's as big as the Shinju. No, maybe it is even larger. Whoa. He placed the side of his right hand on his forehead, as if doing so made seeing the already colossal tree any easier to see. He looked to his right and smiled. Yui. Naruto looked at his right hand for a few seconds before raising it and swiping down. Huh. He once again swiped his index and middle finger down with a blank look on his face. What? How am I supposed to open my menu? Naruto's head dropped before he smacked his forehead. Whatever, now's not the time to be wasting on this stuff. I've got to find Asuna. His expression turned to that of a determined one as he leaped onto a tree branch and began making his way for his virtual daughter. Asuna. Wait for me. Naruto leaped onto a tree branch and began making his way towards the direction of Yui's energy signature. He jumped from tree branch to tree branch, which caused him to chuckle. It's almost like back home. But now's not the time to reminisce. He was traveling so fast that he didn't notice he came upon a rock wall. Crap. He shouted, taken by surprise before he front flipped and applied chakra to his feet, landing in a crouch position. He then continued to sprint along the wall, taking only a couple of seconds to reach the top before jumping high into the air and getting a better view of his surroundings. There. He shouted as he landed on top of the plateau in a crouch position once again. Go. He roared as he zipped straight forward at inhuman speeds and proceeded to fly towards his destination. His eyes had now taken on a golden hue as he headed straight for what he would soon find to be a one-sided battle. I've got to say that I'm surprised you've held on for this long. Yeah, it's been 30 seconds already. I think I've proved myself to be qualified. Sorry, but I've decided to kill you. You fucking. Eugene roared as he charged forward and swung his powerful sword, which sent Kirito flying once again. Ah. Kirito uttered in surprise as he fought to gain control of his spinning body. What the heck? Were you holding back this whole time? He yelled. I did say I was gonna kill you now, didn't I? Eugene said once again as he appeared in front of Kirito again, who attempted to block due to ethereal shift. Kirito took another blow. Damn it. Kirito flew away and started to chant a spell, but Eugene caught up to him in the middle of it. Not a chance. Kirito, wide-eyed, spun and narrowly avoided a downward slash, simultaneously swinging his sword and landing a hit on Eugene. Oh? That's some splendid reaction time. However, don't think you can win by just defending and countering with lackluster damage. Eugene charged forward and clashed swords with Kirito over and over again. This is bad. That guy is starting to lose the equal footing he had with the general, Sakuya noted as she glanced at the salamander army that was gathered in the sky right in front of them. If it comes down to it, we might have to escape while we can. No way. Leafa retorted. Kirito won't lose. Alicia hummed as she stood with her arms clasped behind her head. I can't lose here. Kirito bellowed as he attempted to kick Eugene and follow up with a vertical slash that Eugene blocked with a fire barrier. What the? Kirito was blasted away and Eugene took advantage of this. He performed numerous attacks that chipped away at Kirito's health, bringing it down to the yellow zone. It's time for you to die, Spriggan. All of a sudden, Kirito flew right into Eugene's face, which left the general blinking with an owlish look on his face. What? Kirito faked an attack and spun around Eugene and delivered a one-handed version of the skill Final Revolution, which dealt significant damage to Eugene. He readied himself for another attack while Eugene was recovering from the shock. "You damn Spriggan!" Eugene yelled. Kirito narrowed his eyes as he got close once again and leaned his body to the right as much as he could as Eugene was swinging diagonally from his Kirito's left. Kirito swung his sword aiming straight for Eugene's wrists instead of the blade itself which stopped Eugene's attack. However, Eugene blasted Kirito away with a fire barrier once again before Kirito could cut off his wrists. "You thought I was going all out?" Eugene yelled as he moved so fast it was as if he teleported to Kirito's left side. "You've got to be ack." Kirito yelped as he was hit straight down into the forest below. He then began conjuring a long-range lethal fire-based spell, intending to finish off Kirito once and for all. "Farewell, Ambassador. Boy." Eugene failed to realize the presence hovering right next to him. Huh. Wham. When Eugene glanced to his left, all he could see was a fist only centimeters away from his face, which then sent him flying. Gah. He coughed as spit was forced out of his mouth with his face contorting in pain. Kirito looked to be just now gathering himself as he looked up from where he was standing in the devastated foliage around him. He closed his eyes and smiled as he looked downward. "Took you long enough. Who is that? What's happening?" Sakuya asked, voicing the thoughts of every single player there. Alicia giggled. "I have no idea, but it seems he's a fellow Kaith Sith. Although, I don't remember seeing him around so he must be new." "No way that's possible for a new player to send the strongest Halo player flying hundreds of meters." One of Sakuya's soldiers, a sylph, commented. Leafa, while listening to the others, just continued to stare at Naruto with an amazed look on her face. Naruto was busy staring at the slowly shrinking figure of Eugene with a sort of contemplation. "Appa." Naruto perked at the familiar voice and calling he heard and with a smile looked down only to notice a flying pixie which caused his eyebrows to furrow and a tilt of his head. "What the heck? Yui? What happened to you? You're so small." Naruto began questioning in a level tone as it slowly rose to that of incredulous shock. Yui pouted and it showed with her slightly agitated face and puffed out cheek. "Geez Papa, it's me. It's Yui," she said as she then transformed herself back into her human state and hugged Naruto as she also was not able to fly or levitate in this state. She shed small tears as she did this, constantly muttering that she missed him. "You're looking as lively as ever, Naruto," Kirito mentioned as he had his arms crossed and was slowly rising to Naruto's level. "Kirito? It's been a while, man. However, while I'd love to continue this reunion we're missing someone." Yui's and Kirito's face turned downcast. "So you know then. I figured you would since I take it that getting here from your home wasn't an easy task." Naruto chuckled while rubbing the back of his neck. "You could say that." Naruto's eyes widened for a split second before he grabbed onto Kirito while holding onto Yui and dodging a fireball that was pretty close to burning them to a crisp. "Crap, looks like he's back," Kirito mumbled as he readied his sword. However, Naruto held up his hand in front of Kirito and looked back with a smile. "I've got this. Just take Yui and stand by somewhere safe." Kirito nodded. "Knowing you, you will be just fine. Let's go, Yui." She looked at Kirito before transforming into a pixie but flew and landed on Naruto's shoulder. "I'll stay with Papa." Kirito looked a bit taken aback before he smiled. Hi. But Naruto, be careful about blocking his sword. It will phase through if you try to block it." "Great, I've got to deal with another phasing annoyance," Naruto thought before he turned back to look at Kirito. "Got Thanks for the info. Down with the Kaith Siths, Sylphs, and Leafa." Alicia leaned and whispered into Leafa's ear, "Hey, what do you think they're talking about up there?" Leafa looked surprised by the sudden question, laughing nervously. I'm not too sure honestly." Sakuya closed her fan that she had opened sometime during the battle between Kirito and Eugene. "Here he comes." Alicia and Leafa both looked back towards the trio. "Where are you looking?" Eugene roared as he thrust his sword straight at Naruto, with all intentions to finish Naruto off and cut things short. Naruto waited till the sword was centimeters away from his body before he turned his body altogether and watched as Eugene's eyes widened in shock. "Man, he's moving so slow right now," he thought in annoyance. But there is no time for diddle-daddling. Naruto grabbed Eugene's sword, readied it, and spun delivering a slash that quite literally slashed through his abdomen. "Ah!" Eugene cried in excruciating pain as he felt the blade slice through his torso like a knife through butter. "Ah. Oh. Wah." Everyone had their fair share of gasps and otherwise indescribable sounds of shock. He just defeated Eugene like it was nothing. The clamor began to arise as everyone, even the salamanders, began talking about the short and anticlimactic fight that just went down. Naruto ignored all of this as he looked toward the salamanders, which caused them to panic and raise their shields and swords in a desperate attempt to defend themselves in case of an attack. He looked at Demon Sword Graham before casually tossing it to one of them. "Here, now go ahead and get the hell out of here before I end all of you," Naruto said in a quiet and deadly tone, sending chills down the salamander's spine at his not so subtle oppressing aura. "You there? Huh?" Naruto looked down at the person who called out to him who just happened to be Sakuya. Could you do me a favor and bring his remain light here so I can resurrect him? Remain light? What's that? Naruto shook his head. You see that fire-looking thing where you killed him? He shouted out across from where they stood. Oh? Do you mean that? Why should I? He was causing some problems and looked as if he was going to attack you all. Please, it would be better to end things on a high note, wouldn't you agree? Naruto cursed before he sped after Eugene's remain light to give to Sakuya. He held onto it and stared at it for a bit in awe before turning and flying to their location. When he landed and placed the light in front of Sakuya, Leafa tugged at Kirito's sleeve. Hey, who is he? A friend of yours? Kirito smiled before turning back to the scene in front of him. Yeah. He's here to find the same person I'm looking for. Well, I was looking for him, so I guess you could say the person he was looking for. Leafa hummed in response. I see. Sakuya began the process of resurrecting Eugene, which only took a few seconds. Once he was revived, he proceeded to stand up from his kneeling position and did a few arm rotations. Kirito took the time to sneak up next to Naruto. Hey, whatever I say, just go along with it, alright. Naruto gave him a weird look. What's that supposed to mean? Just do it. He sighed. Alright. Eugene turned around to face Naruto with an impressed look. I'm surprised. I didn't know such strong warriors were representing the alliances of the 4 races. But just to be sure, who are you? I know of only that Spriggan they're claiming to be an ambassador, but who exactly are you? Another ambassador for the Kaith Sith and Sylphs. He was originally my superior who appointed me as an ambassador. He is known officially as the chief ambassador of all 4 of the races. I had let him know ahead of time just in case something like this happened and I wasn't able to handle it myself. Oh? Chief ambassador, you say? That's right, Naruto confirmed with a serious look. This is so embarrassing. Well, you certainly have the strength to back up your claims. But there was a tense silence floating in the atmosphere for a few seconds before the sound of footsteps broke the silence. General Eugene, if I may. Eugene turned his head toward the captain of the salamanders. Oh, Kajimune, huh? What is it? Do you remember when I reported to you about the raid on the Sylphs that we were sent out on around a week ago? Well, I do recall that particular report. Kajimune nodded. Yes, this Spriggan was definitely with them and intervened. Eugene returned his scrutinizing gaze to Naruto. And what of the Kaith Sith? Kajimune opted to turn his head toward Naruto as if signaling for him to reply. Kirito was about to answer until Naruto cut him off. I happened to be in a meeting with the Sylphs and their leader going over this meeting. However, we did get a distress call about this run-in with the salamanders, and Kirito was with me. Since I did believe in his strength, I sent him out alone while I dealt with the affairs I had to take care of immediately. Eugene's eyes shifted to Sakuya and Alicia and rested on them for a few seconds. Sakuya and Alicia nodded. Then, Eugene uncrossed his arms and sighed. Well, that's the then. I do have to say, you're probably the strongest player in this whole game, Eugene said with a smirk. Kirito smiled while Naruto took to walking up to the general. I'll be waiting for the next battle, Naruto said as he raised his fist. The general chuckled in amusement, to say the least. I won't lose next time. As the salamanders were leaving, Sakuya, Alicia and Leafa all looked to Naruto with a perplexed and disbelieving expression. Who are you guys? Before Naruto or Kirito could even answer, Sakuya raised her hand. Actually, there's something we need to take care of. Alicia, would you mind? Oh? So that's what's going on. Sure, I don't see why not. Sakuya then took to condescendingly confronting Sigurd about recent events which led to her banishing him from the race. Meanwhile, so, what have you found out so far? Kirito turned to look at the world tree and pointed. From what I've heard and gathered, Asuna is most likely at the top of that tree over there. I was gonna head there, but this came up and I decided that I couldn't just abandon these people. Game or not. Naruto nodded. I can agree with that. So, what are we waiting for? Let's, so back to what we were talking about. Naruto and Kirito turned to Sakuya, who coughed into her hand. Alicia had her hands locked behind her head with a smirk. So, what was with all that ambassador stuff? Is that true? Sakuya shook her head. I doubt it. I knew immediately when he mentioned a meeting with the Sylphs. Though, to save our asses, I just played along. Naruto guffawed as he rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. Well, Kirito here wanted me to play along, and now I see why. To be quite frank, we're both new players. Sakuya and Alicia's eyes widened instantaneously. You can't be serious. With your skill. Kirito chuckled. Well, it is true. Naruto's face returned to that of a serious one. Sorry to cut things short, but I have to go that tree over there. There's no time for me to waste. The world tree? Why's that? Sakuya asked. Let's just say I have some business to take care of. Kirito looked at Leafa, to which she replied with an understanding nod. Sakuya, there's someone we have to find and I agreed to help that Spriggan over there. Sorry for leaving unannounced, and to be quite honest I was not planning on returning. But, I hope that doesn't change things. Sakuya smiled and shook her head. Don't worry about it. Though, I presume you guys are after the grand quest at the World Tree. Leaf sighed. It looks like we are. Then, why don't we lend you a hand? We're already going to be storming the World Tree to establish a part of our territory at Yggdrasil, and it would be a great way to repay you for this particular occurrence. Kirito then walked up to them. If that's the case, here, he said as he opened his inventory and dropped the bag of coins he had. Alicia almost fell right with the bag as she took a peek inside with a gobsmacked look on her face. Sakuya. There's enough money here to buy a village. How on earth did you? Well, I have my ways. Anyway, I don't need it, so I figured I'd give it to you guys. Alicia handed the coins to one of her players. Well, this will pay for all the items and equipment we will need. We'll be prepared for the quest. Naruto turned to look behind him as he started floating without his wings. Sorry, but we've got to get there as soon as possible. Thank you for your offer to help, but we'll probably be done by the time you get there. With that, he sped off. Did he just fly without his wings? Alicia asked, voicing everyone's thoughts on the impossible matter. I can explain that later. But for now, you guys take care. Right, you as well, Kirito. Sakuya said as she waved at their disappearing avatars. Naruto, Leafa, and Kirito landed right at the entrance of Yggdrasil as night fell. Here it is, the center of Alfheim, Yggdrasil where the World Tree resides. It's also the biggest city in all of Alfheim. Naruto was gawking like a little kid. Awesome. Leafa cast a glance before looking at Kirito. So, who exactly is he? Kirito had sweat dropped at this. Well, how should I put this? Naruto decided to answer for Kirito. I'm a friend of Kirito. I played Sao with him. Did you just say, Sao? Leafa asked as her hand was shaking. Yeah, you didn't know. Kirito gave Naruto a stern look. How am I supposed to bring up that incident in a conversation? Besides, it's all in the past now. Leafa nodded. Right, all in the past. The trio was making their way to the World Tree as the sun started to set. Naruto suddenly jumped up in surprise as he heard an announcement about server maintenance. What the fuck? That brings back memories, Kirito said while smiling at Naruto who deadpanned. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. So, what's this about? Kirito nodded. Looks like they're gonna do some maintenance on the servers so we'll have to log out. But I don't think you can you Naruto? Naruto smiled. Don't worry about that. I am connected to one of those devices you guys use to play right now. Seriously? Kirito asked in amazement. Yeah. Kirito looked down in contemplation. Then, there's somewhere I have to take you to the real world. Where is that? Asuna. Naruto's eyes widened before they narrowed. What are we waiting for then? Alright. Prodding up to the keypad and entering in the code she discovered from Sugu, Asuna began to make her way out of the cage she was stuck in. She traveled all around until she finally came upon a cave entrance where she happened upon a futuristic-looking hallway. It was the complete opposite of the setting that was Alfheim. She looked to the left and the right carefully before making haste in a manner as quiet as she possibly could muster. Once she got to the turning point of the seemingly never-ending hallway, she would peek her head out in an awfully cute manner and then continue to make her way through the pin-drop silent hallway. I've got to hurry. As she was busy stealthily tiptoeing along, she happened to come across a guide map that revealed her position and where she ought to go. She studied the map for a few seconds before her eyes caught sight of one specific room. Looks like I found my way out. I just hope I can make it out before anyone finds me, she whispered to herself, resuming her travel on a hopeful escape to the real world. About 2 to 3 minutes later of painfully silent walking, Asuna finally made it to the entrance of the room that she would soon find to be a horrific unexpected discovery. Ah. Naruto's eyes shot open wide and with a grunt, he blinked a few times before removing the headgear strapped to his head. He sat up with the nerve gear in his hands before he sighed. That sure was a crazy experience. I couldn't muster up all my strength in there. Naruto placed the VR device on a table next to the bed he was sitting on and stood up to stretch out his muscles with a pleasurable sigh. I feel like I've just woken up or something. The door in front of him opened. Yeah, my first dive left a lasting impression on me, to say the least. Right in front of Naruto standing there with a grin on his face was none other than Agil. Oh, Agil. Back from the cafe already? Nodding, he walked up to Naruto and handed him a slip of paper. Message from Kirito that he wanted me to give to you. Naruto glanced at the paper and took it from the man's palm. What is this? Agil crossed his arms. They're directions to where Asuna is being hospitalized. Naruto perked up at this before his profile darkened. Thank you for letting me stay at your place for the time being. I'm gonna go ahead and head out. Agil looked behind at the disappearing blonde with a serious look on his face and gave him a thumbs up. Asuna. Ani-chan, who is it again that's gonna meet us at the hospital? Kirito chuckled slightly as he patted Sugu's head which earned her a pout. As I said, he's a friend of mine. remember the guy that defeated Eugene? Him? Oh, so he's the one that you were always telling me about. So, he's an alien or something. Kirito chuckled once again, except with a sort of nervous hint to it. You could say something like that. Anyway, he and Asuna were together in SAO, and he was probably the strongest player there, even if almost everything about him was against the rules of the game. Wow, it's no wonder he took care of the general like it was nothing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around him being from another world, however. Yeah, it took me a while to even digest the fact, let alone believe it. Ding. The sliding doors of the front entrance of the hospital opened up and both of the Kirigayas looked over to see Naruto walking in. Kirito sucked his teeth. You're late. Almost 30 minutes late at that. Naruto huffed as he marched over to Kirito and pointed at the paper. You call these directions? I don't even know what half of this even is or means. I'm not exactly from here if you haven't noticed. I had to send a bunch of my clones to help me find this place. Kirito sweat dropped and waved his hand up and down. My bad, my bad. Just keep it down. You're making a scene. Sighing, Naruto folded the paper before exhaling and giving Kirito a look which earned him a nod. Tsugu had just continued to stare at Naruto with a curious look on her face. Naruto turned to her and gave her a sheepish grin. Hello, you must be Kirito's sister. Wow. Huh? You look exactly like you do in Alfheim. Naruto hummed with his hands behind his head. Now that you mention it, you and Kirito did look a bit different. Tsugu chuckled with a sheepish smile on her face. Kirito gave Naruto an irritated look watching the way he was talking to Suguha. Ding. Let's go, Kirito muttered, catching the attention of the blondes. Right, Naruto said as he followed them into the elevator. Asuna gawked with mild curiosity as she slowly walked past what looked to her like brains trapped in a container of sorts. What is this? She continued to look around until she stopped right in front of an encased brain. What I'm working on right now could practically change the world as we know it. If it were my will, I could manipulate your senses, nervous system, even your memories. So, if I were you I wouldn't get too snappy with me. Asuna thought back to the words Sugu said to her and her hand immediately shot to her mouth as the realization dawned on her. Her eyes widened as she stepped back in despair and fell to her knees, helpless. This can't be. She sat on her knees for a few more seconds before she stood up suddenly and placed her hand on the machine. Don't worry. I'll be coming back to save you all. I promise. But that over with, Asuna bolted and continued to look for any signs of a way out. Left and right she looked and turned constantly with an impatient expression, a bead of sweat dropping on the side of her face. Ah. She stopped in her tracks as she took notice of something in the distance. A GM console. She thought back once again to the time Naruto and she had almost lost Yui when they encountered the console there. Once I get out, I'll find a way to get Naruto back here. He'll save me for sure, I just know it. The sound of footsteps filled the otherwise dead silent hallway with the timing of the footsteps rather all over the place. Naruto, Suguha and Kirito continued out of the elevator once they had reached the floor they needed to get to. So, you've visited her already? Yeah, and I've got to tell you about what had exactly happened then. Naruto gave him a confused look. About what happened? Oi, you didn't do anything weird did you? Kirito sighed. Who do you think I am? Of course not. It was someone else who was being a creep. Naruto clenched his fists and looked away slowly. I see. Kirito stopped right in front of a door at the end of the hallway. We're here. Naruto closed his eyes, breathed in, and breathed out before opening his eyes once again. Asuna. Kirito gave him a somber look before opening the door and walking inside with the two trailing behind him. Everything around him seemed to have disappeared when he laid his eyes upon her. He couldn't even describe the instant he was hit with the rush of feelings. Happiness. Sadness. Anger. Love. Relief. If anything, it was probably all the above and more. The thought that she's suffering because of some lunatic made Naruto's blood boil. But, Naruto decided now was not the time to be angry. He walked up beside Asuna and pulled up a chair. He gazed at her unconscious form for what seemed like hours. Every feature is the same as he once saw when he was fighting alongside her in SAO. From her beautiful, long chestnut hair to her delicate face that he could stare at for hours like he wished he could do right now. He put up a hand to the side of her face and caressed it. And now he was filled with heartache. The thought that he was so close to her yet so far was an understatement. Don't worry Asuna. I'm coming for you. I'll rescue you and then we can talk and get to know more about each other. Just please, wait for me. Sugu began to break down in tears at what she was witnessing. This is too much. Kirito began to pat Sugu on the head with a forced smile. Naruto stood up before he turned to look at Kirito. So, what's this about some creep? Kirito sweat dropped. He's gonna be pissed. Asuna was stuck in the cage once again with an even more downcast expression. Please save me, Naruto-kun. What the fuck did you say? Naruto yelled as he clenched his fists and was trying so hard not to break everything in the hospital room. Scary Sugu said as she clung to her brother's side. Not only did he do all that, but he's her supposed fiancé as well, Kurita replied. You've got to be fucking with me. As if I'll take all of this sitting down. Let's go. Burrito and Sugu looked at each other and nodded. We'll meet you where we logged out. No time for that. I'll be at the tree. Just meet there when you can. Naruto said before he teleported back to Agil's apartment. Burrito and Sugu had owlish looks and were making weird sounds as if they were completely flabbergasted by what they just saw. I believe what you said, but now I'm gonna need time to digest what I saw, Ani-chan. Make that the two of us. I've only seen him do that stuff in game. This is it for today. To be continued.